Hey, it's been a while, hasn't it? Note, the material presented in this video is not family-friendly. There will be swearing, as well as some graphical things implied. If you don't want to hear either of these things that are present in the footage, please click away now. Okay, here we go. For those not familiar, or who just happened to stumble across this video, I've been covering the Vic Mignogna case on here since February. Unfortunately, I had to stop covering it back in July, due to school starting up. However, with the winter semester now over, I'm ready to get back into it. This video is mainly going to be a chronology, or highlights reel to the best of my ability, of what's happened since my last video went up, entitled Monica Rial's Big Mistake Lies Under Oath. That being said, because so much has happened since then, this is gonna be a long video, so grab a snack or whatever else you use for sustenance. I might also miss some things just because there have been so many documents, pleadings, petitions, and the like since the month's long interlude. I'm also going to be giving my own thoughts on some of the deposition footage either before or after it's played, depending on what I have written down here. The links to all of the resources used in this video, such as video clips or documents that I'm able to find and use, will be in the description of this video. Alright, here we go. The deposition of Ron Toye. I was laughing like crazy during Ron's deposition. He mainly answered Ty Beard's questions with a variation of, "I don't recall," and he was extremely fidgety and nervous. There's not too much else of worth here aside from the fact that Ron said the entire reason why he was fighting was because of what Vic apparently did to Monica, without telling Ty exactly what that was. I was laughing like crazy when Ty gave Ron the binder containing all 400 of his own defamatory tweets, and it was a blast getting to see his reactions and to hear his flimsy excuses for them. At one point, he couldn't even remember his own Twitter handle, which I facepalmed at, considering that if he really did tweet all 400 of those, super likely since they're tied to his handle, you would think he would have it memorized like the back of his hand. A really hilarious thing to come out of this was the I Do Not Recall soundtrack video, which is a hilarious parody of this entire ordeal. It's gonna be linked below as well. Give it a watch. It's really funny. The deposition of Monica Rial. This one was interesting. Monica was a lot more reserved than Ron was. However, she lied under oath several times, like when she said that she just went along with it, as well as something else that I'll get into in a minute. There were also a lot of jokes made about the amount of water that she was drinking, an obvious deflection tactic given the amount of times that she actually sips from her cup in the footage. The following clip in particular made me cringe, especially when we consider something that I'll bring up in a minute.
When you had communication with Tammy, was it mostly email, or did you also speak on the phone?
It was mostly on the phone.
Did you exchange emails with Tammy Dimbo?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you provided those to your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you tell her on the phone?
And when you had discussions with Tammy Dimbo about Vic, did you relate your story to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you recall the specifics of what you related to her about yourself?
Well, I related to her that I went to a convention called AzumiCon in 2007, that Vic and I were both guests there. That the whole weekend I had spent flirting with a gentleman named Raleigh Pickens. And
DTFO.
Vic would come and join us on occasion and kind of didn't seem to realize that we were doing our little flirting thing. And Sunday, when they all left, Stan Dolan, the convention chair, had said, you know, we're going to all go out to dinner with the staff, and we'd like for you guys to go. And we agreed, and then Vic said, hey, can you come by my hotel room? There's something I want to show you. And I can't recall exactly, I think it was the Full Metal Fantasy film that he had done, his fan film. And so I went to his hotel room because, like I said, I had been flirting with Raleigh all weekend, and he was dating a friend of mine named Michelle Specht. So I went with him to the hotel room. He played for me the video, and in the middle of the video, he had done his fan film. And so I went to his hotel room because, like I said, I had been flirting with Raleigh all weekend, and he was dating a friend of mine named Michelle Specht. So I went with him to the hotel room. He played for me the video, and in the middle of the video, he grabbed me by the arms, and he turned me around, and he started kissing me. And, sorry, and I was...
It's okay.
I was raped when I was 15 years old. And so for me, it was a very difficult moment. I was frightened, I was scared, I didn't know what to do. When I was 15, I had fought back, and that didn't end well for me, so I just kind of went along with it, knowing that Stan, any minute, Stan was going to come to the...
I just went along with it. I just went along with it. Knowing that Stan would save me. I just went along with it. You know what that sounds like? I mean, I know how she's describing it, and I know how I'm going to be characterized for this, but I don't really care. Listen, I just went along with it. Sounds a lot like consent. It sure sounds like consent when you just go along with it. 'Cause you could have just said, nah, fam, I'm good without the mouth works. But I was traumatized because it reminded me of my rape when I was 15. Sure, of course. It always does, years later. And how did you, after being assaulted like this, did you clam up and just go with it every time Vic ever saw you? I mean, come on.
The door, and he kept kissing me and kind of pushed me back onto the bed and actually got on top of me, and I still have like a very visual, like a nightmare actually that...
Oh, yep. She's got a nightmare. She's got a nightmare. Here we go. It haunts me in my dreams. Look at the hollow face here. By the way, the pause button loves you. It hates whoever's on camera, but it loves you, the audience, right? Where are the tears? Where's the cry? Like, where's the actual sadness in this face? Staring 1,000 yards off in the opposite direction from the person you're telling the story to.
The feeling of looking at the door and thinking, how do I get out of this? Like, how do I get out of there without ruining the friendship that we'd had, the trust?
Without ruining the friendship that you had. The man is allegedly assaulting you. You're saying that he is bringing you back to rape. That's what you're saying. Ruining the friendship that we have? I'm sorry. If any of my friends try to rape me, I will definitely say at their funeral, yeah, that I wasn't worried about ruining the friendship when I killed you. What on earth is happening here?
That we had built. And then Stan came to the door, and when Stan came to the door, he jumped up and ran to the door, and I kind of covered my face because being pale, if anything's happening, you can see it all over my face.
Yeah, except what's interesting is we can't see it now. We can't see it now. You're lying, and it's obvious. Stan came to the door. Now notice what she does here. Notice what she does. She's modified her story a little bit. she's told this story several times, and Stan's interaction in the story is different every time. But now she has covered herself up so that Stan can't possibly know what's going on, right? Because, they might have to ask Stan about it now, right? They might have to actually ask Stan what happened. And he's going to say, I don't remember. There's nothing odd going on at all.
And when Stan came to the door, he jumped up and ran to the door, and I kind of covered my face because being pale, if anything's happening, you can see it all over my face. Stan came in. He asked me as we were leaving, are you okay? I said, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And just kind of kept covering my face. And we went to dinner. I don't recall where we went or what was spoken about because I think I was in shock the whole time.
I thought this happened after dinner. Wasn't that the original story, that this happened after dinner? Does anybody remember that? God, I seem to remember this happening after dinner. Now it's before dinner? And
when we came back, he went out there. Outside of his room, there was this little patio, and he was standing on the patio, and he called Michelle. And he put me on the phone with Michelle.
Oh.
And that was hard for me because she was a friend of mine. And
why is that hard? Michelle, Vic tried to assault me. What the hell is going on here?
I remember that being the moment I talked to Michelle. I said goodnight, and then I went to my room. And that was...
Wait a minute. You went to dinner, then you take a phone call. So Stan rescues you and you all go to dinner. You don't remember where. Then you take a phone call and you're on Vic's balcony again? What happened there? What happened there? You went back to his room?
I know this is hard for you.
Oh, it's really hard for her. Look at that. Yeah. Look at that. Right there. Yeah. Oh, it's hard.
The affidavit of Stan Dolan. This is the sworn affidavit of Stan Dolan, the same Stan that was mentioned by Mr. Rial in her story. Points 3 through 7 of the affidavit read as follows. Point 3. I was the owner of IzumiCon in Oklahoma City in November 2007. Number 4. Monica Rial and Victor Mignogna were both guests at that convention. Number 5. I have no memory of the events described in bullet point 4 of the response. Number 6. If I had noticed Monica Rial being distressed leaving Vic Mignogna's room, I am certain that I would remember it. Number 7. In subsequent years, I invited Monica Rial and Victor Mignogna back to my conventions several times. I would never have done this if I had been informed of any problems between Monica Rial and Victor Mignogna. So yeah, Monica's story, it pretty much loses all of its credibility if you do the homework and compare the documents. Which is probably why all of KickVic, I know a lot of you are watching this, but it's probably why a lot of KickVic probably flunked their tests in high school, because they refused to do the work. The deposition of Vic Mignogna. Vic's deposition was extremely long, about 4 videos and 6 discs according to the court's videographer, which totals around 8 hours of footage. So I'm gonna try my best to go in chronological order with these next points. Right off the bat, I noticed something very interesting. Vic's posture, his mannerisms, as well as the determined look on his face. This contrasts harshly against Rial and especially Toye, who were lying through their teeth and fidgety respectively. The reveal that Vic was a police officer instantly grants him more credibility than either Rial or Toye, since he's actually been deposed in the past and knows how this works.
Have you ever been deposed before, Mr. Mignogna?
No, sir.
Have you ever had to give testimony in any capacity before?
Yes, sir.
In what capacity?
I was a police officer for a time, and in my job capacity, I...
Come on, Vic. Come on, Vic. Making it too easy. Compare, like, immediately. Again, this... Thinking about, not this deposition, but thinking about putting these guys in front of a jury. Vic is composed. Seems more calm. I don't know if he stays that way, but he seems very calm. Ron was fidgety. Ron looked like a squirrel. Ron, very nervous. Kind of... Vic was a police officer. First thing he leads with. Great choice. Great choice. And Jay Sean led him right to that. So I was a police officer. Instantly, Vic will be more credible than Ron will. In the eyes of an average jury, much less in the eyes of a Republican jury in Texas, probably in a very heavy law and order district. Like, the cards just, they don't always fall like this. These are good cards to fall.
I would have to testify again. Yes, sir.
In what capacity?
I was a police officer for a time, and in my job capacity, I would have to testify against defendants that I arrested and give testimony.
And when were you a police officer?
A long time ago, roughly 86, 87.
I don't recall.
In Maryland.
That's what he should have said, right?
And how long were you a police officer? A year?
Roughly 2 years, on and off.
And when you say on and off, were you some kind of auxiliary police officer?
Well, no. I was a seasonal officer. Went through the necessary degree of training and sworn in, powers of arrest, etc.
Were you allowed to carry a pistol?
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And then at some point, they realized that I had a background in film and television, and they asked me to start making PSAs and commercials for pedestrian-related, citizen-related videos to help educate the public.
Hey guys, I'm Vic here, your neighborhood officer. I want you not to jaywalk. Look into these eyes. You want to jaywalk anymore? Go to the crosswalk. Take your time. Signal. Look both ways. Thanks. I can just imagine.
That's why I meant for pedestrian-related, citizen-related videos to help educate the public. That's why I meant on and off. I started doing the video stuff toward the end.
Vic's deposer, Jay Sean Lamoine, brought up the GoFundMe campaign that was raised for Vic by Nick Rekieta, and he actually blew it out of proportion by claiming that Vic was going to, quote, sue 2 women into the ground. This is the part of the video where the clips from the deposition are going to be played, and then I'm going to give my commentary either before or after they're done. Vic goes through his career as a voice actor, showing us how humble he is with regards to his status in the community.
How long would you say that you've been in the public spotlight?
Being in the public spotlight's kind of subjective, you know, like what one person would consider celebrity or whatever. I don't. Okay. I couldn't answer that.
Let me do it this way. Do you consider yourself to be a celebrity?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because I don't.
You've been in movies before?
Yes.
You've been on TV shows?
Yes, sir.
You have voice acted for, what, hundreds of Japanese anime films?
Yes, sir.
You go to conventions where thousands of people show up?
Yes, sir.
You've taken, over the course of your, let's say, last 20 years, you've probably taken pictures with over 10,000 people. Is that fair?
I don't know an exact number.
Well, I mean, is it more or less than
I
10,000?
couldn't answer. I couldn't tell you.
Well, how many people?
I haven't kept count, sorry.
Do you think it's more than 100?
Sure.
All right. What's the last convention you went to?
I was at an event last weekend in Dublin, Ireland.
How many people did you take pictures with there?
I didn't count.
More than 100?
Probably not.
Do you consider yourself to be a celebrity in the American voice actor community?
I don't feel like it's for me to say whether I'm a celebrity or not.
He explains his interactions with Nick Rekieta and the setting up of the GoFundMe.
Good answer.
So you have a GoFundMe campaign out there in your name. Do you know how much money's in it?
No, sir.
You have no clue.
No, sir.
So somebody's raising money with your name and face on a GoFundMe page. Do you agree with that?
That's what I've been told, yes.
And you have no idea? Do you know who runs that account?
Do I know who funds the account?
Runs the account.
I believe it was set up by a gentleman named Nick Rekieta.
How do you spell Rekieta?
I don't know.
Rude.
R-E-K-E-I-T-A-I-E-T-A.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Do you know Mr. Rekieta?
I never met him until for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Where'd you meet him at?
I met him at an anime convention in Houston.
Is he your attorney?
No, sir.
Has he ever represented you?
No, sir.
Have you ever communicated with Mr. Rekieta by email, text, any type of application on your phone?
Briefly.
About what? Your mom!
He wrote me back in probably February. I didn't know who he was. It was unsolicited. And I did not reply.
Rude.
And
Very
then
rude.
it was brought to my attention that there was a gentleman on the internet who was making videos and being very supportive of my situation. And when they told me his name, I went back into my email and looked up to see if that was the person that had contacted me, and it was.
Thanks to.
And
by the
so
way, brief shout out. Thanks to Cody from Anime Outsiders. I know some of you find Cody to be a little bit spastic and aren't the biggest fans of him. I like Cody. Let me just tell you guys, without Cody, I would not have known how to contact Vic at all. Cody was the one who was able to get me to contact Vic. So there you go. Cody had a big part in making this happen. All right, let's get back to it.
Sent him an email, and if that was the person that had contacted me, and it was. And so I sent him an email and thanked him for his support.
Is that the only exchange that y'all had? Or have y'all had continuous email, text
Occasionally.
message?
Okay, here we go.
So,
I don't know.
do you have some type of administrator that would help you with that handles?
No.
So, Mr. Rekieta communicates with you in February of 2019 for the first time. At some point, you reach back out to him, y'all have a conversation. Who came up with the idea of the GoFundMe campaign?
Mr. Rekieta?
And what was the purpose of the GoFundMe campaign?
You'll have to ask Mr. Rekieta.
What did Mr. Rekieta tell you the purpose of the GoFundMe campaign was?
Good luck.
He said that he believed that the people who supported my position wanted to help in any way they could. And he said he was going to provide them a way to do so if they chose to.
And you told him that was okay with you?
No, I did not give him permission. He had already done it.
Okay. Did he ask for permission after you did it?
No, sir.
You do realize that people have put over $100,000 into that GoFundMe account. You know that?
If that's the number you're telling me, then I believe you. Voluntarily.
Right.
Going to
I
3.
believe. I don't think anyone's being compelled to do anything.
Did you ask Mr. Recato to set up this GoFundMe campaign?
No, sir.
It was a complete shock to you when it occurred.
Define complete shock.
Well,
That sounds rather,
well,
Complete.
how about this? How many GoFundMe campaigns have been set up for your benefit without your knowledge in your lifetime?
none that I'm aware of,
So this is the first.
as far as I know.
And Mr. Recato wasn't a friend of yours when it was set up, was he?
No, sir.
All right, so would you agree with me that that was kind of shocking? That
Brief trivia. I think either before or almost simultaneously to me setting one up, someone else had set one up as well. There was another GoFundMe that was set up. That person immediately communicated with me and asked me how they could help, divert the funds from theirs into mine or whatever. And I want to be very clear that other person did not have any deception or anything like that going on. As far as I could tell, they communicated with me right away. But it was technically the second. I don't know if Vic was ever aware of there were technically two. I don't know if mine was first or second. I don't know if Vic was ever aware of the other one because it didn't gain traction. Mine gained traction very quickly. So that's how that went. But Vic is not aware that there was another one set up. And it may have been, that one may have actually been reported for fraud and shut down because people thought they were trying to copy mine or something. That's not the case. And I'm pretty sure I actually mentioned this back when it all started. So, but I just want to be clear. That's why I was saying there were two GoFundMe set up, although I don't know if Vic ever knew about that other one.
a random individual that.
Aware of,
So this is the first.
as far as I know.
And Mr. Recato wasn't a friend of yours when it was set up, was he?
No, sir.
All right, so would you agree with me that that was kind of shocking that a random individual that you don't know sets up a GoFundMe?
It was
campaign?
unexpected.
Okay. Did you ever bless him doing that?
No.
Are you okay with it, the GoFundMe campaign?
As a matter of fact, sir, I remember when he first told me that he had done it, I told him I didn't really know how I felt about it because I didn't want people, I didn't want people giving money to something. And that was the point at which he said what I just mentioned to you earlier, that he felt that there were a lot of people out there who felt that I was being treated unjustly and wanted to help.
So this GoFundMe campaign, you don't have any idea how the money's being spent?
No, sir.
Don't know where the money's going?
No, sir.
What happens to the money if there's any money left over after this litigation's over?
I believe I was told at some point that if there was any money that was not spent, left over, as you say, would go to a charity, a charitable cause.
And who picked the charitable cause?
I don't remember.
Does it strike you as odd that there's somebody out there raising money in your name and you can't tell me how that money's being spent?
No, sir.
Do you feel no responsibility to make sure?
No,
that
sir.
the
Sorry,
objection?
I apologize.
Thank you. So you feel no responsibility to the
Objection form.
tens or thousands of people that are putting money into this GoFundMe campaign to make sure you know how the money's being spent?
Objection form.
You struggling with that question?
No, sir. I'm
You going to answer it?
responding
Yeah, you
to
can answer
my
the question. I'm sorry.
attorney's objection.
Oh, unless he tells you not to answer, you have to
Okay,
answer.
sorry, I didn't know how
Yeah.
it worked.
No, that's right.
Please repeat the question.
Sure. You feel no responsibility whatsoever to make sure that the money being put into a GoFundMe campaign for your benefit, how it's spent?
Same objection. Objection form. That's your question.
My understanding is that it's being spent for legal defense. And I trust what I've been told.
Lemoyne goes off the rails. And to be honest, it's hilarious that he leaps this far in logic.
I would encourage you to read it yourself.
Object is non-responsive. I'm
I
asking
will read
you.
Witness
it.
answer
I will
question.
read it for you, sir. Oh, no, here. The fund is set up for Vic's legal defenses. And as you know as well, anything that was left over was told very clearly that it would be donated to charity.
Okay.
If this all ended tomorrow, the lion's share of this money would go to charity, which I assume you would approve of.
So, object is non-responsive. My first question is, so the money, according to the GoFundMe page, is for your defenses, correct?
That's my understanding.
Are you being sued by anybody right now?
No, sir.
So what is the money defending against?
That seems like a semantic to me. I think we both know what it's for.
Oh, yes, we do.
It's for the lawsuit itself.
That's right. It's for you to sue 2 women that have accused you of sexual harassment.
Objection, 3 women and a company. Come on, Jay Sean. Rude.
It's like a semantic to me. I think we both know what it's for.
Oh, yes, we do.
It's for the lawsuit itself.
That's right. It's for you to sue 2 women that have accused you of sexual harassment, correct?
No, sir.
Objection form.
Oh, it's not. The money's not for you, for it not to be used to help you sue 2 women that have accused you of sexual harassment.
The money is to be used for me to seek justice for defamation of my reputation.
Are you aware of any other GoFundMe campaign in the entire United States where a man accused of sexual harassment gets money to go sue his accusers?
No, sir.
I mean, you're a unicorn, aren't you?
What do you
Could
mean?
say that again?
I mean, you're literally the only male in the entire United States accused of sexual harassment who solicited money not to keep
Objection.
himself out of jail, but to go sue the harassers. Do you realize how unique you are?
Objection
Am I?
form.
Hey, Jay Sean. Just for the record, Jay Sean just confirmed there's 1 unicorn out there. There's at least 1 unicorn. Listen to how mad he is.
Also, I just want to throw this little bit in because I really liked it. No commentary, I just think it's cool.
He should be running the deposition. Why is he mad? You've got 2 options. He's either faux mad, but he doesn't sound faux mad because he's not channeling that anger into useful criticism. Or you've got real mad. And it's hard to tell because his voice is so just hampered by his illness. But if he's really mad, then he is losing control of the deposition. I think right now he's in the presence of Vic, who is charismatic, and trust me, go into Vic's presence sometime, especially when he's not at his table. Especially when Vic is not at his table. He's got a natural magnetism to him. He's a handsome guy. He has a presence. He, most importantly, when Vic looks at you and listens, you believe that he's listening, whether he is or not. Jay Sean believes that Vic is listening to every word he says. The funny thing is, when Vic looks at him like this, Jay Sean is going, I'm here trying to destroy this man, and he's actually paying attention to me. Normally, deponents don't do that. Normally, they look away. Normally, they look down. Normally, they recoil. But he's looking into my eyes and listening. This is a natural skill. I don't know if Vic got it from birth or if he developed it over time. It is one of the objectively most valuable things that Vic does. And if you want to know why people love him, I'm telling you as a man who has seen this in person, who has seen him disarm everybody who walks up to him by looking directly at them and at least giving the illusion that he is listening. This isn't legal, right? This isn't legal work. This isn't legal assessment. This is perception. This is something that lawyers like Jay Sean don't understand. Lawyers like Casey don't understand. Lawyers like T. Greg probably don't understand. Low T. Greg. They don't get that Vic will slay a jury just by existing. Ron never will. And if Jay Sean looks to be mean with his gravelly, back of the throat voice that sounds like he's gonna eat the souls of your children. If he is mean to Vic on the stand. And Vic, soft-spoken Vic, big blue eyes, wonderful bangs, and nice highlights. Oh, and a healthy dose of guns. Looks at him, answers genuinely, tells him how he wants to be heard. He just wants to be felt. He just wants to reach as many fans as possible. Every woman and man on that jury believes Vic over Jay Sean every single time. There's no, it's natural. It's natural and you know it. It's natural and you know it. And that's the best part. Jay Sean is trying to grip the narrative here and he can't.
Vic talks about Monica and the public apologies he has made.
Let's go.
And we're back on the record for the beginning of disc number 2. The time is 11 a.m.
Mr. Mignogna, I'd like you to pull Exhibit 17 back out and talk about it a little bit more. Left-hand side of the page, top column, there's a discussion there about public and private apologies. What are the private apologies that you made?
Shortly after Monica publicly stated that I had done something that upset or offended her in some way, I've been friends, at least I considered us friends for a very long time, and so I wrote Monica an email basically saying I am mortified if I've done something somewhere in the past to upset or offend you, but would you please tell me what it is, because I didn't know in what she was referring to in her tweets.
Is that the only person you privately apologized to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so if I understand this correctly, Ms. Rial publicly made statements about you that reflected negatively upon you?
Yes, sir.
Did they describe why she felt negatively about you?
The first several, for the first bit of time, I can't tell you exactly how much time, were rather vague. And that was when I wrote her. As I said, we'd been friends, my understanding, for 20 years.
Okay. The public apologies, what would those be?
I put out a tweet at some point that just basically said, I am extremely sorry for any unintended, certainly unintended offense or, anything that has hurt or offended anyone. Certainly never my intention. And I also apologized publicly at an event.
And who are you apologizing to?
Specifically?
Yeah.
Anyone who I inadvertently offended.
And what did you think you were apologizing for?
Inadvertently offending them.
And when you say inadvertently offending, you're talking about giving hugs or kisses and things like that to people that didn't want it.
Whatever it was that people had a problem with.
Right. Now, were you also referring to instances, the various instances in your hotel room where it was just you and a woman? Was that
No,
part
sir.
of it? So the public and private apologies didn't apply to that.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
As we sit here today, that a number of people have accused you of inappropriate behavior in your hotel room at these various conventions. Do you agree with that?
No, sir.
You don't think that you've been accused publicly of inappropriate conduct in your hotel room?
You said a number of people. I'm not aware of a number of people accusing me of that.
So
Lemoyne goes through a series of names, some irrelevant and some of significant note, like this one here, where he talks about Kamea-Con.
about Chris Slatosh, S-L-A-T-O-S.
I don't really know him that well. He ran a convention here in Dallas that I attended.
Was that Kamea-Con?
Yes, sir.
Did you email or text with Mr. Slatosh?
Yes, sir.
What about?
What about?
Yeah.
He invited me to his event last fall. I was actually the first guest that he announced for his Kamea-Con this year. And then when this eruption took place, shortly after it took place, Mr. Slatosh called me and told me that he had been getting pressure from Monica and Chris Sabat to dump me as a guest, and they made threats and put pressure on him, and so he told me that he had no choice but to cancel my appearance. And then I did not speak with him for quite some time, like 2 or 3 months at least.
And did you end up going to CommandCon?
I did. I spoke with him 2 or 3 months later after that hiatus, as I mentioned, and he told me that he didn't really see any reason. He didn't feel good about canceling me, that he felt that there were people that wanted me there, and that, barring anything substantial, that he wanted to have me back. And so I was very excited about that. And my understanding, Sean, is that he called or communicated with.
Did you see that? Did you see that? That was subtle. That was good. My understanding, Sean. Boom. Connected with his deposer. Come on, Vic. That's good. That's actually good. I'm saying come on, Vic, because it's ridiculous. This guy is trying to ruin you. And what he does is he gives that little thing, he personalizes it. Remember what I was saying earlier? He looks at you and you believe he's listening. And Jay Sean is having to go through the same thing every fan who walks up to Vic is going through right now. Vic could have shut off. He could have disengaged. Instead, Vic engaged his professional person. Vic engaged his ability to empathize. And it's probably because it's real as opposed to manufactured that he's able to do it. Now, Toye was asserting that what Vic does is fake, right? He was asserting that Vic doesn't actually care about people. He was asserting that Vic, because they don't understand how Vic does this. They don't understand that this is just part of who he is, and the character and person that he's developed has become this thing. Because it's foreign to them. It's foreign when you look at people and you see a sweaty, nasty mass that you have to interact with, rather than someone who just wants to see you. Those are two vastly different things. Vic does that here. He's able to keep talking. Why Jay Sean is letting him talk? All right, here we go. Here we go.
And my understanding, Sean, is that he called or communicated with Monica and Chris Sabat that he was going to re-invite me. And
Then you got to go.
And then they expressed more pressure and toward him not to have me. He went back and forth, vacillated on it for I don't know, a couple of weeks. And then we did have a contract as well.
And what do you mean, a contract?
A contract that I was to attend that event.
And you ended up going to the event?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
Although, my favorite one would have to be this gem right here.
Chris Sabat?
Sure.
Who's he?
Chris is a voice actor, has been a voice actor as long as I've been voice acting.
Truthful guy as far as you know?
No, sir.
Okay. So...
Somebody press Sabat's life alert button. Oh, single-handedly just absolutely wrecked him. Chris Sabat, truthful guy as far as you know? No. Oh man, that was brutal. That was absolutely devastating. All right, here we go. Sorry. Here we go. I got to go back to that.
And he's very vocal about, he was for many years, that he didn't like me much.
Okay. What about Donald Schultz?
Don Schultz. Don't know that name.
Like Chris Sabat?
Sure.
Who's he?
Chris is a voice actor, has been a voice actor as long as I've been voice acting.
Truthful guy as far as you know?
No, sir.
Okay. So what, do you and Mr. Sabat have some kind of issue?
Oh, no. See, that's the unfortunate part. Mr. Sabat has looked me in the face as long as I've known him and been friend and acted like friends, pretended to be supportive, told me that he was, with me and for me. And then over the course of this storm, it has come to my attention from different people that he has, as long as they have known him, spoken disparagingly about me, made accusations behind my back, and not been a friend at all. So,
sounds like a liar.
As I mentioned, apparently I don't have the greatest luck when it comes to judging people's friendship.
Who told you that?
Vic, it's okay because they lied to you. Because people like Sabat and Toye and Rial and Markey are liars. They're liars. And if people don't start understanding that they're liars, and the worst part is that people in the industry, I've talked to them, they know that these people are liars. All that, oh, Vic is so powerful, I can't go against Vic. He's so powerful. Sabat might actually qualify.
Vic's health is mentioned next. And to be honest, I was tearing up the first time I watched, and I'm still choked up rewatching the footage while editing this video.
Let's get back to it.
Are you seeking any mental anguish damages in this lawsuit? Do you know?
No, sir.
Okay, and so that question was unclear. Are you seeking mental anguish damages?
There is certainly a lot of mental anguish.
All right, well, let me ask it this way.
I'm just seeking to clear my name, sir.
Okay. And what would that look like? What does clear your name mean?
To stop people from, to end the public attacks and to somehow reach an agreement where these people do not contact events and production companies to try to keep me from working and making a living.
Okay. So, are you seeking any treatment of any type from any healthcare professionals as a result of the defamation that you claim to be suffering?
Privileged. Don't answer. Objection privilege. Do not answer.
Okay.
Will you just tell me about anything you might say to a therapist behind privilege? Will you just tell me about that? Because I would really like to use your, any therapy sessions or any sort of healthcare information I can. I would just like to bypass that privilege. That would help. Can I have health insurance?
You can answer the question, but any further delving into it, I'll object. You can say yes or no.
I mean, maybe, Mr. Beard, maybe you can just clear this up. Is he seeking mental, are y'all seeking mental anguish damages?
I think we've asked for broad damages. Yeah, that's probably part of it.
Okay, so.
I don't have the pleadings in front of me, quite frankly.
Are you taking any medication as a result of the defamation that you claim to have suffered?
I am taking 2 medications. One is losartan for high blood pressure, and one is Zoloft for, I guess it's an antidepressant.
And did you take that before these allegations came out?
No, that started in late January.
Okay. Have you been unable to work as a result of any mental issues that you're suffering because of this alleged defamation? Not that somebody's not letting you work, but that you can't get up and go to work. You understand the distinction?
If I'm honest, and of course
if you want
supposed to be. For the first several months, I found it very difficult to really do much of anything. I had offers from people to do certain things, and I found it very difficult to get motivated.
Did you do those?
Didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I was losing weight.
Did you do those things that you had offers to do? Did you turn them down?
I haven't done them. I asked them if I could have some time.
Okay.
I've been exactly where he was at this point. And it's not a happy place to be at all. Why someone would want another person to be like this, I have no idea. Vic gives a suspicious sounding reason as to why all of this happened to him. People wanting attention.
And so after you hired Mr. Beard, is it your testimony that you basically sat silently for the next couple of months until you finally decided to sue somebody?
Pretty much.
Can you think of instances, I don't know, in the last 5-6 years where someone has impugned your reputation in the voice acting community and you just walked away from it and did nothing?
Certainly.
Does that happen often?
There are always disgruntled fans and people that are looking for attention in some way. I have largely ignored it because attention is exactly what they want, so I tend to ignore it. And it's never been an issue, and this time, this all started, ironically, at the moment that the Dragon Ball Broly movie that I was the main character in was released. To the day that it was released, this was launched against me. And
I gotta stop him. Vic, it wasn't ironic. It was coincidental. He lost the case. He lost the case. Misuse of irony. 10-yard penalty. 4th down.
And I didn't do anything about it for a while, quite a while, thinking, well, it's just the same old people trying to get some attention. And then it just didn't abate. And
it makes sense that people would want to capitalize on the success of a big movie like Dragon Ball Super Broly was, if they're fans of the characters or the actors involved. But, in my opinion anyway, they shouldn't have done that by getting one of the stars kicked from his source of income. Instead, they should have talked about the movie, theorized about what was coming next, or even if Broly would come back in the series. Vic talks about the contract he had with Rooster Teeth and Funimation prior to his termination from both, which, if I'm being honest here, makes them both look even more sleazy than they did before.
And what happened when the...
Amazing.
At any point in time, were you made aware that Rooster Teeth was doing any type of investigation into you?
no, sir.
You said at some...
Whoops. Whoops. Oh, God. Wouldn't it be great to get Rooster Teeth sued? Oh, man, that'd be good.
At some point, you were terminated by Rooster Teeth,
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct? How was that communicated to you?
By email.
And who sent you the email?
Well, there were several people on the email. They were mostly, I assume people at Rooster Teeth, and they said it was really interesting. I had been corresponding with a friend who is one of their producers named Cohen, who I believe might have even signed this. Yes, Cohen Wooten. He and I had been corresponding at the very beginning of this social media for several weeks at the beginning, and expressed how unfortunate and how crazy it was, and that he certainly didn't believe any of the garbage that was online. And then out of the blue, without any real advance anything, I got an email one day from Rooster Teeth, and it was from, I guess, Gray Haddock was one of the people on the email. I expect Cohen was on it. There were probably 4 or 5. And it was sent to me, and it basically said, effective immediately, we will no longer be requiring your services.
Was there any explanation?
You know what? Yeah, it said pursuant to section something or other, paragraph something or other, and I wrote them back and said, I'm really sorry to hear this. Can you please send me the portion of the contract that you're citing? Like what, in other words, why, what'd I do? And I never got a response. Well, I didn't get an intended response. I got a response from someone, one of the people on the thread, on the Rooster Teeth email, who clearly didn't mean to send it to me. And it said, quote, I'm sure we're all in agreement, but no one is to reply to Vic. I don't think they meant to send that to me, but
solid job.
I never heard back from anybody, and I never attempted to contact anybody.
Let's read a couple emails. I'll just put these on screen. Let's just put these on screen. Does Miss Rial work at Rooster Teeth? I think he's trying to find out if Vic would be suing for any sort of interference from Monica Rial on Rooster Teeth. Let's start at the bottom, shall we? Because that's the chronological first email. Here we go. What does this say? Wouldn't it be embarrassing if this was released? Matt, I can't do Monica's voice. It's way too high. I know that Rooster Teeth's decision to cut ties with Vic had to be a difficult one. I just wanted to thank you for reaching out and listening. I wish other companies would follow your lead. Hey, Monica. This is from Matt Hullum. I'm just catching up on the Funimation announcement and all the crazy BS you've been suffering through. Outrageous. I hope you're doing okay. Don't let the trolls get you down. Best, Matt. Monica Rial. Thanks, Matt. I'm okay. I'm working with an agent with Homeland Security who is looking to teach these kids a lesson. We'll see what happens. Hey, Monica. Monica, the agent from Homeland Security that you're talking to hates you.
The details of the investigation are brought up next, but to be honest, it confuses me even more about Funimation's side. On Funimation's side. I think you guys will see what I mean once you see it for yourself. Bear with me though, it's kind of a long chunk of footage.
Were you ever interviewed at any point in time by Funimation with regard to allegations of improper conduct by you?
I was contacted in mid-January, very shortly after this, the online social media stuff started. I was contacted by someone at Funimation. Basically, it was about a 20-second phone call where they basically said, someone from Sony would like to chat with you. Can you be available tomorrow at this time? And so I said yes, and someone from Sony contacted me and said that they had received some incidents that they wanted to ask me about, and that was the first I'd heard of it.
And that's the only time that you've ever dealt with any
Yes, sir.
investigation while at Sony?
Yes, sir.
Does the name Tammy Denbo ring a bell to you?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
I'll show you what we pre-marked as Exhibit 24.
Wait a minute.
So, did you have a conversation with Ms. Denbo?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. What do you recall of that conversation?
She asked me about 3 incidents that had come to their attention. The first one was a kiss with a coworker at Funimation a few years earlier. One was an interaction with Monica at a convention with a jelly bean. And the third one was an incident that was reported to them of 2 twin ladies who I had met several times at conventions and had invited to my room.
Okay, so before I start,
Lemoyne is processing the Chad moment that just happened right there. Sorry.
asking you questions.
Counsel, can we take like a 30-second break?
Get off the record.
And we're going off the record at 1:34. And we're back on the record. The time is 1:39.
All right, so as I recall your testimony, there were 3 separate incidences that Ms. Denbo wanted to discuss with you.
Yes.
Of those 3, one of them is Mrs. Rial, correct?
Yes.
The other 2 instances, are those women who have publicly accused you of anything? Meaning it's out on, they've given statements to magazines or otherwise disclosed their names?
Not to my knowledge.
Right. You know who these, you know their identities, correct?
Yes.
If I ask you, you can tell me their names,
Yes.
can't you? Mr. Beard, I would like an agreement that with regard to questions surrounding not Mrs. Rial, but these other 2 incidents, that we agree to keep that confidential until we get a ruling from the court.
That's, yeah, I think that'll be okay. That's, just to be clear, that's the...
Don't say the names until...
Right, I was about to do that.
Oh, okay,
Let me see
That's
this.
the other 2 incidences.
Okay, so
Oh,
let
besides Jelly Bean?
me see if I can
That's,
articulate the request.
That's
what,
fine.
What we would like to do is put the portion of the deposition under seal with regard to the 2 non-Monica Rial incidents.
the names,
The names.
nothing more.
Yes,
Agreed.
the names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it will include, their residence, things like that.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get
Names, addresses.
Identifying information.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Okay, so
Agreed.
starting from this point, the deposition will be under seal until I stop asking questions about these 2 incidents.
No.
The deposition or just the names?
I mean, just the names. Just
Okay.
the names, the contact information, the allegations.
Okay. All right.
Sticker.
All right. So the first incident with the woman that you had a kiss with, what's her name?
I'm allowed to. Is it okay if I say?
You say it, and it will be removed from the transcript until the court rules
Yeah,
whether or not it should come out.
redacted.
Okay.
And who was Miss?
She was an employee at Funimation.
And do you know what her title was?
I believe she was a translator or a checker. She would proofread and proof check subtitles.
And when was this kiss that occurred?
At least 3 years ago.
So 2019, so it's either 2016 or 2017?
It wasn't 17, so 15 or 16, I guess.
And you were an independent contractor at Funimation at the time?
Yes, sir.
And the kiss occurred at the Funimation offices?
Yes, sir.
And was it only one kiss?
Yes, sir.
Who kissed who? Or how about this? Who initiated the kiss?
I did. I asked her if I could kiss her, and she
And what
said,
did you say?
Did she kiss back? Because I don't know what that's like. Will you tell me about it? Was she pretty? How did her hair smell? I really need to know. I need help.
yes, sir.
Who kissed who? Or how about this? Who initiated the kiss?
I did. I asked her if I could kiss her, and she
And what
said,
did you say?
yes. Oh, no, actually, she said, close the door. And I went over and closed the door. I'd visited her every time I was at the studio. We'd been kind of flirting with each other and corresponding for quite some time before that.
And in 2015, you were engaged to Mrs. Speck, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long had y'all been engaged at that point?
We got engaged in, bear with me, let me do a little math. Roughly 7 years ago, so it's 2012, 2013.
Did you and Ms. Specht have an exclusive relationship?
Yes.
Did you disclose to Ms. Specht at any time that you kissed?
No.
After you kissed, did it proceed from there?
Did what proceed?
Your relationship, if you had one.
With? No.
Why not?
I don't think either one of us were looking for any kind of a, ongoing long-term thing.
And was there any other relationship, physical relationship besides that one kiss?
With Miss? No, sir.
No sex or sex-related activities? Anybody else at Funimation that was employed at Funimation that you kissed at any point in time?
No, sir.
So as far as you were concerned, it was a consensual kiss?
Yes, sir.
But it never went anywhere after that?
No, sir.
Did you text or email me after that incident?
I expect that we exchanged a few texts. Yes, as a matter of fact.
But she never pursued you after that kiss?
Well, not in any sexual way. Whenever I was in town recording, I would let her know, and we talked about getting together sometime or having lunch or something, but nothing heavy.
Right. And when Ms. Dimbo, did Ms. Dimbo explain to you what the allegations were, or she just give you a name and say what's the relationship?
Actually, she didn't give me any names, and I asked her, am I allowed to know who you're talking about? And she told, that was the point at which she told me their names.
Okay, but before she gave you the names, did she describe the alleged incident that the people had relayed to her?
Yes.
Okay, so with regard to what is your recollection of how Ms. Denbo explained that interaction?
She said, do you recall going into someone's office at Funimation and forcibly kissing them?
Okay. And you knew at that point in time that the only person that could even remotely try and make that allegation was?
Well, I was the only one that I'd gone into a office and kissed.
Okay.
The terror.
If you're engaged to Ms. Specht, why kiss?
Because I made some mistakes.
So is that not the first mistake you made in terms of your exclusive relationship with Ms. Specht?
No.
How many mistakes would you say you made with Ms. Specht during the course of your engagement?
I don't know.
More than one?
Yes, sir.
More than 5?
Yes, sir.
More than 50?
I doubt it.
More than 25?
I don't know.
So, with regard to the twin ladies, do you know their names?
Yes.
And who are they? And how do you know them?
They had come to at least 3 or 4 conventions that I was a guest at. They would always come to my autograph table and to my Q&A sessions and sit in the front row and come and say hello. And
All right. And how did Ms. Dimbo explain that particular allegation?
she said, do you recall inviting 2 girls, twins, 2 women to your room at a convention? And I said, yes. And she said, do you recall forcibly kissing one of them? Which I did not.
All right, so, and what was your recollection that you relayed to Ms. Dimbo?
My recollection was that I had seen these 2 ladies at multiple conventions, and I was under the very clear impression that they were interested or attracted to me. And they were very kind, attractive, friendly young ladies. And so after the fourth or fifth time that I saw them at an event, one night or one day, I don't remember when, I asked them if they wanted to come to my room. I invited them to my room. They came voluntarily. I let them in. One of them sat on the bed. The other one sat in a chair in the room, and I sat in another chair in the room. We made some small talk, and then they asked me why I invited them to my room. And I said, well, I was under the impression that there was a lot of mutual attraction going on here, and I thought maybe you might be interested in some kind of a sexual interaction. They told me they were not. I said, okay, and they left.
Vic opens up a little bit more, saying that what he was doing, like hiring a prostitute for instance, wasn't consistent with his faith.
Have you ever stated to anyone that you, in the last 10 years, that you hired prostitutes or escorts?
I have.
And who would you have said that to?
Oh, I don't remember who I said it to. I thought you were asking me if I ever have.
Well, that would have been the follow-up question.
Oh, sorry.
So the follow-up question is, have you ever hired prostitutes or escorts?
I did once, yes.
And when was that?
Probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Would that have been while you were engaged in the spec?
That would have been before.
So never during your engagement with her did you hire any prostitutes? The behavior that we've been going over, is that consistent with your Christian faith?
No. I've made a lot of mistakes.
Have you ever made any mistakes with girls under 17 years old?
No, sir.
Have you ever invited any girls up to your room that were under 17?
No, sir.
Have you ever invited any girls up to your room that looked like they might be under 17?
No, sir.
Imagine your brilliant line of questioning leads you all the way to the conclusion that a Christian man would suggest that he's not perfect.
Now, while that may seem bad on paper, the fact that Vic owned up to it and admitted to it makes him a better person in my eyes, since he's trying to fix it. Or admit the wrong, at least. Vic goes through the emotional turmoil he was faced with following the termination and the phone call about Funimation's apparent investigation.
On here, and I thought maybe you might be interested in some kind of a sexual interaction. They told me they were not. I said okay, and they left.
Have you ever stated to anyone that you, in the last 10 years, that you hired prostitutes or escorts?
I have.
And who would you have said that to?
Oh, I don't remember who I said it to. I thought you were asking me if I ever have.
Well, that would have been the follow-up question.
Oh, sorry.
So the follow-up question is, have you ever hired prostitutes or escorts?
I did once, yes.
And when was that?
Probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Would that have been while you were engaged in the spec?
That would have been before.
So never during your engagement with her did you hire any prostitutes? The behavior that we've been going over, is that consistent with your Christian faith?
No. I've made a lot of mistakes.
Have you ever made any mistakes with girls under 17 years old?
No, sir.
Have you ever invited any girls up to your room that were under 17?
No, sir.
Have you ever invited any girls up to your room that looked like they might be under 17?
No, sir.
Imagine your brilliant line of questioning leads you all the way to the conclusion that a Christian man would suggest that he's not perfect. And they said they would be in touch. They harassed Vic. Sony harassed Vic.
I remember if it was her, but at the end of that conversation, the first one, she said that they would be in touch with me. And I don't remember how much time went by. I don't think it was more than a couple of days. And they called me, and there was more than one person on the line, and they said, we've reviewed the situation and you're being terminated from Funimation immediately.
That came as a shock to you?
Yes, very much so.
Did they say anything about why? other than they believe the situation?
No, I was a bit dumbfounded.
And so there was no, we believe them, we don't believe you, nothing like that?
No.
Now, did you, was it anything other than you're terminated and that's it? Was that the phone call ended? Did you ask them why?
Bear with me, Sean. It was rather a blow.
Sure.
And I think I said, I've worked for you for 20 years. I can't believe, based on what you asked me about, that this is an appropriate action. And I don't remember them saying much of anything in response. And they're like, "All right, bye." I mean, I was a bit dumbfounded. You feel like you've been hit by a truck.
Now, did you talk to anybody at Funimation after this termination? Have you talked to anybody about it?
Let me think. No.
And so, as far as you know, the basis for the termination was the 3 incidences that they
That's
made.
all I was told about.
Now, you would agree with me that Ms. Dimbo did tell you not to reach out to any of the individuals that had talked to them, correct?
Yes.
And did you reach out to any of them after the fact?
Yes, I was terminated. Why in the world?
Okay.
Why wouldn't I? Especially a woman that thought I was friends with for 20 years. And in fact, all I reached out to do was to apologize and ask her what it was that I did.
Object is non-responsive after yes. Did you reach out to the twins?
Nope.
Did you reach out to?
No.
Let's make sure we take care of that. Okay. And you sent an email to Mrs. Real, correct?
Yes.
Did she ever respond?
No.
Did you text or try and call her?
No.
Well, why don't we look at that email? So this is on February 8th. February 8th. Dear Monica, I understand that I've hurt you deeply, and I'm writing to humbly ask your forgiveness. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what I did that would make you so angry with me, and I'm embarrassed to say that I honestly don't know. I hope you will share what it is with me so that I may sincerely apologize. I've had to step away from social media for sanity's sake. A friend alerted me to your recent tweets. You've always been one of my most cherished friends in the industry. Feel it. Feel it, y'all. The thought that I have caused you pain is unconscionable. I'm learning that I have not been good at discerning how I come across to others, and I'm working on being better and doing better with the help of a counselor. I've been crushed under the weight of the events of the past 3 weeks, and am fully committed to changing the things about me that need to change. I sincerely hope you will find it in your heart to share with me what you're thinking and feeling. Regardless, please know that all the years we've been friends, all of the events, projects, and meaningful conversations we have shared are treasured ones, and I am gutted at the thought that I ruined something I valued so very much. There's Vic's email to Monica. Now, what were Monica and Ron saying about Vic getting a counselor, right? I'm not doing good, not been good at discerning how I come across to others. I'm working on being better and doing better with the help of a counselor. What did they say he was getting a counselor for? They knew, and they lied. They misrepresented why he was getting a counselor. He told them, and they lied. Again, and again, and again. All right. They doxed his email earlier. All right, here we go. Here's Monica sending an email to Colleen Carroll at Funimation. Because remember, he said she didn't respond to him. And she didn't. But she forwarded this. Colleen said, "This is what he always does. He's trying to use his charm to get out of this. He knows what he did. It's disgusting. And he was told by Sony not to contact me. Well, but then he was terminated by Funimation. So you breach a contract, you terminate a contract. Not really bound to that no contact thing anymore.
All I can say about that is the feels. Talk about a blow. Vic tears an article to shreds by verbally dissecting it, and it's amazing. All I can say is, go Broly, go.
It's going to raise eyebrows even if innocuous. You agree with that statement?
No, sir, this is completely inflammatory.
You don't think that it's odd that a 56-year-old man embraces and kisses children at a convention is
No, sir.
going to raise eyebrows?
Sorry?
I mean, what's inflammatory about the statement?
If I may.
Sure.
Sorry.
So much time. Oh, how much is that? Who's to determine how much so much time is on a website without parental supervision? The person who wrote this does not know any of that factually. This is meant to inflame. Hold on. Let me please finish. Embraces and kisses children.
Look at that. He just chatted down Jay-Sean. Let me finish. Hold on. You shut up for a second. How is this not inflammatory?
Yeah, like every other voice actor does in public for photo ops at conventions. It's not seedy and dirty and pervy. And the vast majority of the people, many of them that I have met over the years, have no problem whatsoever with it. There is a small contingent that does, and I apologized to those people in the tweet where I said, I accept that I need to be more mindful that not everybody is open to that kind of interaction.
Here's some evidence of civil conspiracy for anti-Kick Vic people in the audience.
Here we go. Monica Rial to Lisa Gibson, January 30th. Read this one. I might have one more for you. Hi, Lisa. Writing because I'm at a loss. I know the investigation is over, and I was told we are no longer engaging with Vic Mignogna countless times. I just don't know what to say when people ask me about it. This experience has brought up all kinds of emotions, and now I'm being bombarded by folks online with questions about it. I understand you may not know what to tell me, and that's fine, but I don't know where to turn. I can't even look at social media anymore. I get so angry and upset I want to speak out, but I don't know what I can say. Ken. What will you allow me to say? I asked Justin about it, but he hasn't gotten back to me. I understand if Funny is waiting to make a statement after Broly has finished its run. Hell, I understand if Funny doesn't want to make a statement at all. The thing is, I don't have that choice. They will just keep bombarding me with questions. Sorry to bother you with this, but I don't know where to go from here. Man, that kind of looks like Funimation might have some control over what Monica says on social media, doesn't it? It's a little weird, right? A little weird. Let's see. Here we go. Let's read these next two. So this is the response to that, and then the response to that. Lisa Gibson responds, I just saw this. Do you want to talk tonight or tomorrow? Then Monica says, sorry to bug you with this when you're off duty. I didn't expect you to see it till tomorrow. I know you guys are in a precarious position, and I don't want to put you in an awkward situation. That said, I would really appreciate it if we could talk tomorrow, if only because I don't know how to respond to questions. If not, I totally understand. And then the next ones, I'm not going to pull up the next ones, but just because they don't say much, I'll just read them to you. Lisa says, there is no off duty with this job. I'd love to talk. My cell number is blank. Tomorrow works. Let me know when you're available and we'll figure it out. Monica says, I'm free after 12:30 tomorrow. I know Barreto has an interview for me to do, but we haven't locked down any time. My number is blank. Thank you, Monica. And Lisa says, sounds good. Hang in there. God, it kind of looks like maybe, just maybe, Funimation has a little more control over the actions of Monica Rial than we were led to believe when they said they don't control what goes out on social media of their people. So just wanted to put that out there. If Monica thinks that this is going to get her out of it, the only way it gets her out of it is if she's an employee, because otherwise she's egging on Funimation to do this. Wait, what does that sound like? What is it when two people get together, two different entities get together to cause specifically some defamatory statement to be made? Oh, God, what was it? Civil conspiracy. That's it. Okay.
Vic also tears Rachel's story, which sounds eerily similar to Monica Rial's, to shreds.
Okay.
If you look at exhibit, still in exhibit 8, page 7.
Yes, sir.
There's a reference to a woman named Rachel.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall, do you know that who Rachel is?
No, sir.
If you look at on page 7, the second full paragraph, it says Mignana acknowledges events that happened, including they rubbed the back of Rachel's thighs, but said the encounter was consensual. You sure you don't remember who that is? It's obviously her name is not Rachel.
May I have a minute to read this?
Sure.
Where's Rachel start here?
Page 6. Last paragraph.
Yes, I believe that's Kara Edwards. And I think that I replied in my reply to, in the email that I sent to Beth Elderkin. I believe. But in my reply, I stated very clearly that many of the details of this were untrue.
All right. If you turn to exhibit 8, page 9.
It's so funny to me.
Which is funny?
I'm reading this. So she has this horrific experience, and then a second situation, she agreed to come by my room briefly. Now, why would she do that? I'm sorry. I didn't even, like I said, some of this is still kind of fresh.
If you look at the bottom of page 7.
Yes, sir.
Last paragraph. It says, Rachel says she did not report the incident to hotel management or to police because she feared Mignana would attempt to negatively impact her career. He's very well known in the industry, very, very powerful in our industry, she said. Would you agree with the statement that you're very, very powerful in the industry?
No, sir.
And why do you disagree with that?
Because it's not true. Voice actors are a dime a dozen. And
so
I have no power or influence. I auditioned for roles for 20 years just like everyone else. I get some, I don't get many others.
Good answer.
He goes into a really personal point, talking about his ex-fiancée Michelle Specht, and this is really where I was holding back tears.
That block quote appears to me to be a quote from Ms. Specht, your former fiancée.
Yes, sir.
First paragraph, last sentence, says, I've had to face the reality that the loving, monogamous relationship I believed in was devoted to never existed. Do you agree with Ms. Specht's hindsight review of your relationship?
No.
No.
Good job.
It certainly did exist. at some point, but I failed Michelle miserably. And I deeply regret that.
And
Good answer. Good answer.
Vic later addresses a rumor made about him being drunk at a convention.
professional reputation.
Well, it certainly doesn't help it.
And if you turn to page 2,
And for the record, I am not remotely homophobic.
okay, turn to page 2 of Exhibit 21.
Is he trying to give Jason some help?
Third sentence down in the top paragraph, if you slide over, it reads, Vic also reveals that he encouraged Britt and her friends to attack Kosfu and 4chan about these stories, and that he set up a PayPal account which demanded video proof of Vic being drunk in exchange for $100. That ring a bell?
Yes, sir. I didn't I'm going to clarify, though. You see, this is somebody's words, not mine. I didn't encourage someone to attack anybody.
Okay.
I will tell you what happened, if I may, Sean.
Sure.
There are all these rumors. I saw Vic falling down drunk, stumbling around a convention. Well, there are dozens of cameras rolling at all times. I've never been stumbling drunk in my life, ever on the planet Earth. And these rumors, made up by fans just looking to get attention, were more and more frustrating. And so I told one of my friends, why don't we set up a PayPal, and anyone who can provide video evidence of me stumbling around drunk at a convention, I'll give them $100.
Okay.
Suffice to say, nobody ever claimed it, because it never happened.
Monica's story is talked about next, along with an actual court document being provided by Nick Rekieta, to showcase what's exactly being asked about.
Yes, sir.
Interrogatory number 4.
Should I pull these up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Interrogatory number 4 has a request about at some point in time which you grabbed or kissed Mrs. Rial in a hotel room in the mid-2000s. As we sit here right now before reading your response, do you have any recollection of any type of interaction in your hotel room with Ms. Rial where you kissed her?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So if you look at the first bullet point, it says plaintiff grabbed and kissed defendant without defendant's consent on Sunday, November 4th, 2017.
2007.
2007. While plaintiff and defendant were both attending AzumaCon, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Any recollection of that?
No, sir. That was 12 years ago.
Okay. If you turn to page 6.
Here, real quick, just so you guys can actually see this, let's give me 1 second. We'll pull this up for you guys, and we'll here. I'll pull this document up, so because we should probably see what else is in that. Almost there. 1 second. Okay. All right. Here we go. So you guys can see what the responses actually were, because he only read the first part of it. All right. So here's this thing. So plaintiff grabbed and kissed defendant without defendant's consent on Sunday, November 4th, 2007, while plaintiff and defendant were both attending a AzumaCon in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. After several, remember how her story has changed, right? After several other guests had left Oklahoma City, Stan Dolan, one of the convention chairmen, invited plaintiff and defendant to dinner. Plaintiff requested that defendant accompany plaintiff to plaintiff's hotel room to view plaintiff's fan film called Full Metal Fantasy. Mr. Dolan stated that he would collect us both for dinner from plaintiff's hotel room. Okay, so that's consistent. Plaintiff played the video as promised while defendant stood to watch the video. but plaintiff soon grabbed defendant by the upper arms and began aggressively kissing defendant. Defendant attempted to resist, but plaintiff physically restrained defendant and pushed defendant backward toward the bed. Plaintiff climbed on top of defendant and held her down as he continued to aggressively kiss defendant. Plaintiff continued in this fashion for several minutes, despite defendant's fear and shock, until Mr. Dahlin knocked on plaintiff's hotel door. Plaintiff left defendant on the bed and hurriedly answered the door. Mr. Dahlin inquired whether defendant was okay, clearly noticing distress. Defendant, however, was too shocked and afraid to admit what had occurred. Following dinner, plaintiff forced defendant to speak with plaintiff's longtime fiancé on the telephone, and plaintiff spoke with his fiancé as if nothing had happened. How? Now, really, really quickly, let's analyze the story from the testimony that she gave under oath in deposition, and interrogatory responses are also under oath. So having an inconsistent story here in a material way might be called perjury. So in the other story, when Mr. Dahlin answered the door, allegedly Monica covered her face because she didn't want him to see, even though he clearly noticed distress and asked if she was okay on this story. That didn't happen on the other story. Now, in the other story, what isn't said here, of course, is that she said he made her speak with his fiancé on the phone in the balcony of his hotel room, implying that they went back to his hotel room after dinner. So he must have had a gun or knife or something to force her to accompany him back to his hotel room after dinner so that he could force her to talk to his fiancé. That seems to be the plan. This is good. This is good. This will be great. Having major inconsistencies there. And of course, stay tuned. Oh yeah, does she say attempted to resist in this one? Defendant attempted to resist, and in her other story, she just went along with it. Stay tuned. I can't wait to hear what Stan Dahlin has to say. What about you guys? Because he doesn't seem to know what's going on with this. I mean, he posted on Twitter that he didn't even really seem to know his friends were in a lawsuit or anything like that. And suddenly his name is dropped, and he's very, very curious as to what's going on. So, here, let me move this over here so I can, just in case we need something else from there. But I think it's always good to have a nice contrast in the story. I mean, it's not good to have a contrast in your stories, but when there is a contradiction, we can contrast it with what's written and what's spoken. So here we go.
First bullet point at the top of page 6. So plaintiff played the video as promised while defendant stood to watch the video, but plaintiff soon grabbed defendant by the upper arms and began aggressively kissing defendant. Defendant attempted to resist, but plaintiff physically restrained defendant, pushed defendant backward toward the bed. Plaintiff climbed on top of defendant and held her down as he continued to aggressively kiss defendant. Did that happen?
No, sir.
You're sure that didn't happen?
Yes, sir.
Boom. One thing I forgot to mention about this, and I've had this happen with in court hearings as well. Monica watched this. Monica's watching this via live stream right now next to Jamie Markey. They're watching his story. They're watching him read her story. She has this document. She wrote it, allegedly. And then she answers differently in deposition. Very, very frustrating, I bet, for her attorneys.
Second bullet point on page 6. Plaintiff continued in this fashion for several minutes, despite defendant.
Several minutes. What was Ms. Real doing at this time?
Get the question out.
Sorry, I apologize.
Sure.
I apologize. This is the first I read this. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So I'm going to start over with the bullet point. Plaintiff continued in this fashion for several minutes, despite defendant's fear and shock, until Mr. Dahlin knocked on plaintiff's hotel door. Plaintiff left defendant on the bed and hurriedly answered the door. Mr. Dahlin inquired whether defendant was okay, clearly noticing distress. Defendant, however, was too shocked and afraid to admit what had occurred. And you dispute that, right?
I don't recall that at all.
Okay. The third bullet point, following dinner, plaintiff forced defendant to speak with plaintiff's longtime fiance on the telephone, and plaintiff spoke with his fiance as if nothing happened. Recall that?
No, sir.
And your fiance at the time would have been Mrs. Specht.
Michelle Specht.
Now, prior to today, have you seen that description from Ms. Rial in any...
I'm sorry, say that again, sir.
Prior to today, have you seen or heard that description from Ms. Rial online or anywhere?
I know of the story that she posted online back when she originally posted it, but there are more details here than there were in her original story. Like, I don't believe on the online story she didn't say anything about when or where. She didn't say anything about Stan Dallin. She didn't say anything about putting her on the phone. By the way, I just don't even understand a lot of it. So,
again, imagine having to read this. Your friend of 20 years is suddenly accusing you of sexually assaulting her 12 years ago, in graphic detail, with details that you can't even remember. That's got to be devastating.
Vic addresses Jamie Markey's statements on Twitter.
What is it that Jamie Markey has done to defame you?
Wow. Well, apart from mischaracterizing a very casual, brief interaction in public and the lobby at Funimation, she publicly posted that and then went on to say that she wanted my head on a stake and wanted my balls in a sling, and has posted many, many extremely vitriolic comments.
And how is that defamatory?
Because she's a voice actress in my industry, and people will tend to give her more credence because they think, oh, well, she knows him. She must, her words must carry more weight than some fan, some miscellaneous fan out there.
So, what was it exactly that she mischaracterized? Or took out of context?
She mischaracterized. My memory of the event with Jamie was that I had come in to record one day at Funimation, and I was in the lobby, and she was there, and she had just changed her hair somehow. She was wearing it differently, or she had cut it somehow, probably as far away as I am from Casey, and she said, "Hey, hon." And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. And she's like, I know, I just got it. And I walked around the counter, and I was kind of standing there, kind of flipping it, and like, oh my gosh, it's really beautiful. I love it. And I put my hand up in the bottom of it, and I'm like, oh, this is great. It was not painful. It was not hurtful. It was not sexual. And it happened at least 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer. And if I may say, I saw Jamie in the lobby at Funimation in January of this year, literally a week to 10 days before this social media thing started. And she's like, hey, hon, and went over and hugged her and said hello. She and I have had, as far as I've known, a very casual, friendly relationship for many, many years. And I was astounded by her account online.
And the account online is that you pulled her hair?
And that I pulled her hair, and that I whispered something sexual in her ear, which absolutely is not true. I have not ever had any sexual interest in Jamie.
BTFO.
But Ms. Markey certainly wouldn't be the first woman whose hair you've pulled.
No, we've established that. but I would take issue with the word pulling hair. That sounds like something you do in a fight with somebody, and that is not the intent, ever. Nor do I believe they took it that way at the time.
Once again, this thought didn't occur to me until after I started editing the video, but I wanted to include a little extra bit of commentary regarding Jamie Marchi's allegation against Vic and give my thoughts on it. So, I actually didn't have it in my original script, so that's why I'm doing it now. But with regards to Marchi saying that Vic pulled her hair or touched her hair, and her automatically equating that to sexual harassment, this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how everything works. First of all, if you're implying that something is sexual harassment, or even harassment for that matter, it doesn't even have to be sexual based. If you're assuming that something is harassment, that implies that you told the person to stop what they were doing, or you told them, hey, I don't really like that, please stop, or something like that. And as far as I'm aware, Jamie Marchi has never once submitted anything where she told Vic about that behavior. Now, if she did tell him to not do that, that would be harassment then, if he continued to do it. But because there's a lack of context or initial steps to qualify it as harassment, it's not harassment. It's not harassment, as far as I'm concerned. And again, like Vic said, they most likely, her and Monica, they most likely did not take what they claim is harassment now as harassment then, because he wasn't as popular as he is now. It was only following the release of a massively successful anime movie, Dragon Ball Super Broly, that they decided to strike and basically cut him off at the knees. So, very flimsy arguments, ladies. Very flimsy arguments with little to no factual, irrefutable evidence about it. So, yeah, here they go again with twisting the words and the actions of the person to fit their own agenda. Vic also talks about a recurring theme, as well as evidence as Kick Vic sees it.
April 16th, 2019. When
been hired repeatedly for 15 years, and
it all started on April 16th, 2019, when that tweet went out.
April?
I'm sorry, January 2016.
No, like I said, my belief is that date was chosen to piggyback on the popularity of the Broly movie. There has been a recurring theme here. Over the years, anytime I am announced as part of a big new show or playing a role, there are always a handful of people that want to jump on that publicity and get some attention for themselves.
And by get attention from yourselves, you mean people post anonymously that you harass people or do inappropriate things?
Yes.
And so they want to get attention for themselves through
Yes.
their anonymous avatar, I guess?
Yes. For the same reason they don't want to be listed right now. Because they want the attention, they want people to click on, oh, I liked your post, and oh, look how many people liked my post. But they don't, they certainly don't want the accountability. And whenever any supporters have been pressed for any evidence or substance, well, a friend told me that they heard from a friend who saw a friend who said that they heard at a convention 4 years ago, etc., etc.
And so the people that have come out and actively accuse you of things, you've sued.
I'm sorry?
The people that have come out with evidence and said, this is my testimony and this is what happened, you've sued them.
What evidence would that be?
Objection non-responsive. Isn't it true that let me back it up. Your complaint is that people don't offer evidence, right? They just say things anonymously. Fair?
Some people.
All right. And some people actually come out, use their name, and make statements about things that you've done that they think are inappropriate, right?
Yes.
And you've sued at least 2 of them, 2 women that allege that you did inappropriate things to them, correct?
Yes.
All right. You haven't sued any of the magazines or online articles that wrote articles using all these anonymous names, have you?
Not yet.
You planning on doing that?
Possibly.
You would agree with me that if you don't sue those magazines, your reputation is still going to be damaged because you'll never...
Oh, I would say my reputation has been irreparably damaged.
And because of those articles, correct?
No, sir, because of everything. All of it. It's a cumulative thing. Didn't you use, like the term you used? Death by 1,000 cuts, you know?
Vic talks about the positive experiences fans have shared with him.
Do you know if there are any other character statements for you?
I have been told that there has been a website accumulating people's positive accounts of interactions and how I've helped them through difficult times with encouraging words and support. You might be very surprised. There are a lot of them.
Nick also gives an interesting theory on what exactly is going on in these last few minutes with Lemoyne.
Sometimes, now to Jay Sean's credit, sometimes the lawyer has to be the slimiest dude in the room, right? Jay Sean's clients, I can't stress this enough. Typically, now maybe Jay Sean is an anomaly. Maybe Jay Sean is an anomaly, and he likes being a complete prick. But it's probably his clients. It's probably his clients. And let me suggest something to you. After lunch, when they came back to do this deposition, someone asked me if I have inside info about what happened between, in the breaks. I don't have any insight. That's, what Vic discusses with his attorneys is between Vic and his attorneys. But let me just suggest that when they came back from lunch, Lemoyne ran out of questions. But his clients, along with Jamie Markey, who are watching remotely, didn't want it to end. And they wanted the questions to get meaner. I'm guessing. I'm inferring that from the tone of questioning. I mean, you can see where this is going. And they literally started texting Lemoyne questions. How fucking embarrassed should you be from that? You had to text your lawyer questions that he didn't prepare. His phone is buzzing, and then he's asking questions, hoping Vic will answer. And he's looking at those questions. He's going, God, I don't want to ask this. Don't make me be this much of a dick. Please. Like, to give Lemoyne credit, no one likes doing what he's doing. No one likes this. Well, a couple people do. I don't. I don't like being a jerk to someone to get them to tell their story. I would rather people just tell their stories. I'd rather the truth just come out. But Jay Sean is being hired to be a bully. For all the times they call me a bully, they're literally, well, they're not paying him for it, but they're promising that they're gonna eventually definitely we're gonna pay you sometime. They hired a bully, but I bet he doesn't like it.
Following that, in the last few minutes of Lemoyne, Nick continues with his theory, and it actually goes to a very dark place. And to be honest, if it's true, it makes my heart hurt for Vic even more, knowing that these people were willing to sink this low.
I'm afraid you'll have to be more specific. I lived in Houston 20 years. I have a lot of friends.
All right. How about this? Is there a Houston couple that helps hire prostitutes and helps you pick them out and send them to you? Does that ring a bell?
There is a friend of mine who told me of a site, which is how I found about the one time that I told you that I tried it.
All right, but have you ever, as any friends or anybody, assisted you in terms of actually hiring a prostitute and sending them to your room?
No, sir.
This is what I mean. I'm sorry to pause it again. This time I genuinely wanted to let the video run out. But if you want to know what's going on here, they are texting him these questions. They're texting him these questions. Ask him, get him on the prostitute thing again. Their entire plan for this deposition was for Vic to fold when it was done. They wanted Vic to quit after deposition. That was their strategy from the get-go. A lot of people didn't believe me when I said that they wanted to depose Vic. They wanted to file their TCPA before they got deposed. That was their initial plan. Then they went in front of the judge, and Casey Eric had to say on the record, "Oh, no, we definitely weren't going to do that." That was definitely their plan. Look at what they're doing here. They wanted to embarrass Vic. They wanted to run this video. They wanted to run they probably wanted to run the transcript. They didn't expect him to look as calm and collected as he was. They expected him to break down. They expected him to cry. They expected him to sit there and sob and say, "I'm so sorry. I hired a prostitute 10 years ago one time." They expected a whole lot, and none of it actually happened the way they thought it would. Now their game plan is completely ruined, but this is what they wanted. And it shows in their questions. And the contrast between Lemoyne and John Volney and Sam Johnson is going to be massive. Volney and Johnson are going to focus on fact-based questions. They're not going to ask the salacious crap. Look at this. Once this is over, we've got 2 minutes and 11 seconds left of Lemoyne, and then it's going to go into Sam Johnson. Once his is over, the entire thing changes. They're using their last minutes here to try and they want him to quit. Remember, they wanted him dead. They hoped he would commit suicide. They hoped that his depression from being separated from his work, from his fans, and from his friends would kill him. I don't want to say I promise. I infer very strongly that they considered it. They thought, this might kill him. We're good with that. Because they're literally the worst people on earth, and they're comfortable with you being dead. They always have been. These people have, it's the tactics, it's the mindset, it's everything. The ends justify the means, even if the means is your death. And it's been that way for a while now. And it's pretty apparent.
Nick goes on a rant about Vic's counseling, and the defendant's obsession over why exactly he got a counselor.
That was a slimy question, right? Monica and Ron really wanted to know why Vic went into counseling. Let me give you a hint, you stupid idiots. Vic had to go into counseling after you destroyed his career, after you removed him from his fans, after you removed him from his support network. You took out all of the structures in Vic's life. He moved away from LA. He moved to Dallas. You knew that. You knew he just moved to Dallas. Let me add that to this level of disgust for these people. Vic moved to Dallas to be closer to Funimation and his friends. And he did it, I think, in January. Think about that. Think about that. Vic was remote recording from LA, his studio in LA and his home, and sending work in. He moved to Dallas to be closer to his friends, to his colleagues, and to his workplace, so he could be more involved in the work. And they waited until he moved, and then they stabbed him in the back. These people are disgusting. They knew this. They knew it. They knew. They're the worst people on earth. I can't tell you enough how flipping awful they are. They knew it. Remember, if we believe their stories to be true, the absolute best case for them is that we accept at face value their stories are true. They lied for him, or lied to him. They lied to him for over a decade, making him think they were friends. The best case for them is that he did something assaultive, and they lied to him for over a decade to convince him that they were still their friends for whatever reason, and then they knifed him. That is the best case scenario. And that is awful. Awful, people. Absolutely awful.
Vic breaks down. But, unlike Monica, he's actually genuine.
And you are the voice, is it Brawley or Broly?
Everybody says something different. I've always thought it was Broly.
Okay.
But some people say Brawley, so.
And I understand that film, Dragon Ball Brawly, was the third highest grossing anime film in the United States. Does that sound right to you? Were you pretty pleased with that success level?
It was, it was a privilege. I was really proud to be a part of it. I mean, I played this character for 15 years, and he would be in video games and stuff, and when I would do events, fans would always say, oh, I love Broly's my favorite character in Dragon Ball. When are they ever going to do anything more with him? And I would always say, I don't know, wouldn't that be fun? And then when this movie was announced, you know, I was really excited about it.
That's a big deal, you know, third highest grossing.
Finally, Vic puts them all, as in the defendants, and anyone else that could potentially be against him, on blast.
In closed back channels.
Right, but in terms of what you know, you don't know any specific conduct by Funimation that occurred privately in back channels to somehow stymie you from getting a convention job or keeping a convention job. Fair?
No, not fair.
I'm so sorry, John. Please say it again.
It sounds to me like you've heard rumors or you've made assumptions that Funimation may have done something privately as a sponsor of a convention to get you canceled. Fair?
Yes, sir.
Other than rumors, do you have any other evidence of that sort of behavior by Funimation?
Not at present.
Who at Funimation would even do that?
I don't know people at
I would
Funimation
encourage
backstab
you
me.
to look at some of the statements made by Monica Rial and Jamie Markey and Ron Toy talking about Funimation this and Funimation that and Funimation knows this and everybody at Funimation that, and I mean they have you know what's the word I'm looking for, brandished the Funimation name and you know, and I'm quite certain. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I can only again I can only assume. I think a reasonable person would assume that there were entities at Funimation that did not like me for whatever reason and wanted me gone. Did not want me to play the character Broly that I'd been playing for 15 years. And so to ask me the question, your question was who at Funimation would do that?
Well, when you
I think it's been established there are people at Funimation that don't like me much and wanted me gone.
Well, when you say that there are people at Funimation who don't like you much and wanted you gone, who are you referring to specifically?
Chris Sabat.
Is he a Funimation employee?
I would say he has a great deal of weight at Funimation. A great deal. I mean, yes, he is probably. Funimation outsources production to his studio. Chris Sabat has been involved with Funimation since Funimation was in the Frost Bank building on 820 when I started working there. So Chris Sabat, for one.
Who else?
I would say other voice actors and directors.
Can you name names?
Do I have to? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not a name namer. I'm not that kind of a person.
This is kind of a bridge burning exercise we're going through, so let's burn the bridges. Who else?
Yeah, the bridge is kind of burned, isn't it?
Yeah, I have to say. This is my chance to ask you questions. Who besides Chris Sabat at Funimation?
Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, Damon Mills, Sarah Weidenhefty. God, Anybody else who's ever said anything? Chris Rager, Josh Martin. I mean, I know these people are unimportant.
I would
DC
wager
Douglas,
that voice actors like
Sean Schemmel,
Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, J. Michael Tatum, by their own admission on the Twitter storm, the other voice actors that have been employed by Funimation for many, many years. Mike McFarland, Colleen Klinkenbeard, Damon Mills, Sean Schemmel. See, what Funimation may not get is that these voice actors have been employed by them for many years, and when they speak, the public at large sees Funimation.
The judge basically threw everything, as in, I believe it was 15 counts, it might have been 17, 15 to 17 counts of tortious interference and defamation out of court. And there were a lot of court documents going back and forth, like I mentioned earlier. Until we get to this. It's the sworn affidavit of Chuck Huber, the voice of Android 17 from Dragon Ball Super. Let's go through this, because it's incredibly important with regards to Vic's comments about Funimation. Alright. Alright, so this is the affidavit of Chuck Huber. So let's go on ahead and just go through these step by step. Unlike the rest of the video, I'm actually going to be giving commentary based on each of these points. So let's go on ahead and go through this. Probably not, well, okay. My name is Chuck Huber, I reside at blank, Tarrant County, Texas. I am over the age of 18 years and I'm competent to make this affidavit. I have personal knowledge of the facts stated in this affidavit, and these facts are true and correct. The facts in this affidavit should not be construed to condone Vic Mignogna's behavior, especially as it relates to his infidelity toward Michelle Specht, which was personally heartbreaking and horrible. I have been an anime voice actor, or VA, since 1998, and I've performed over 200 roles. I have attended over 150 anime conventions. I have been a voice actor for Funimation since 1998, and am intimately familiar with the work environment at Funimation. I am friends with several employees at Funimation, and I've had direct communication with former CEO Gen Fukunaga, Karen Micah, Justin Cook, and Colleen Klinkenbeard through my years of employment at Funimation. Number 7. I have been a voice actor for Okatron, I don't know, Okatron 5000, a company owned by Chris Sabat since 2004, and have been an employee of Deep Space Mustache, a film company founded by Christopher Sabat during 2012 and 2013. Number 8. I have been friends with plaintiff Victor Mignogna, Vic, for at least 10 years. I have been friends with the defendants, Jimmy Markey and Monica Rial, for at least 10 years. I know Rontoye from his relationship with Monica Rial. The first time I heard Vic's name was in a conversation in 2003 or 2004 with Chris Sabat. This occurred while I was recording for a Funimation property at Okatron 5000. Okatron, wasn't that the thing that Sabat was supposed to give a tour of? Or something like that? Might have been, I don't really know. But anyway. Number 12. In that conversation, Chris Sabat verbally disparaged Vic's Christian faith and speculated that Vic was actually gay based on the way he dressed. 13. In that conversation, Chris Sabat stated that Vic was a pedo who liked little girls. Despite these statements, he did not express concerns about risks to fans, which I thought was odd. If you're worried about his behavior, Sabat, if you're worried about his behavior, why wouldn't you do that? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if I tell a buddy of mine that I think he might be a thief, why wouldn't I then tell the police about it or something like that. If I know that he had, that he had stolen something. Anyway, number 14. During this conversation, there was no specific mention of Vic committing sexual harassment, sexual assault, inappropriate behavior with teenage fans, or that Vic posed a risk to fans at conventions. Number 15. In approximately 2007, Vic began the practice of autographing artwork depicting anime characters for money at anime conventions. Oh wow, so he was actually the founder of that. That's cool. That's cool. Number 16. Other voice actors, Jamie Marchi, Monica Rial, and Chris Sabat, and other Funimation employees initially described the practice as stealing from fans, using fans, or being an a-hole. We all later adopted the same practices and currently follow those practices at conventions. So, what changed? What changed? Oh yeah. Potential moolah. That's what changed for you. Number 17. This behavior by voice actors, including Jamie Marchi, Monica Rial, and Chris Sabat, and other Funimation employees toward Vic's successful business tactics, demonstrates long-standing negative opinions about Vic. I would agree right there, considering that they thought that the practice initially was stealing from fans and being rude. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Chuck. I definitely agree. Number 18. In virtually all conversations I had with these voice actors when Vic was not present, disparaging remarks were made about Vic. Typical statements included, he's a prima donna, he's a douche, he's a diva, his clothes are gay. Plus, comments of his purported infidelity, dislike of his conservative Christian beliefs, and personal attacks for his support of Donald Trump. All of these comments were made at one time or another by Monica Rial, Jamie Marchi, Chris Sabat, and others. All of them, however, conceded his ability to do his job. Wow. Just, wow. That's insane. That's insane. Wow. I mean, so apparently this has been going on. If this is Chuck seems like a really trustworthy guy, considering he's like one of the only voice actors in Vic's corner, along with the rest of us. But if there are others, I'm sorry, but he's the only one that I actually know about that's on Vic's side. But if this is to be believed, then that would mean that this has been going on since at least 2003. So pretty much for about 16 years or so. Anyway, moving on. 21. In December 2013, at YamaCon, I had lunch with Sean Schemmel and Sonny Strait. Sean Schemmel tried to persuade me to participate in a derogatory video about Vic, known as, I don't really know if I want to say that, so try it here. There we go. The video was to portray Vic as a pedo. I refused because Vic is my friend, and he is not a pedo. Debunked. Debunked right there. Debunked right there. Kick Vic? Take that. Number 23. Most of the time when I interacted with Sean Schemmel, oh my gosh, I can't speak today. He attacked Vic for pushing his Christian faith on fans at conventions and for Vic's purported sexual promiscuity. For one thing, pushing his Christian faith on fans and sharing the gospel with people are two completely different things. You're not when you share the gospel with someone, you're not pushing your faith on them. You're simply sharing your faith with them. That is not the same, because here's the thing. This pushing here, this basically implies that he's forcing his beliefs on people, which is absolutely not the case at all. For example, when I go out and I share the gospel with somebody with, I don't know, with Jules down the street or something like that, just an example, when I go and share my faith with someone, that is not the same as forcing him to believe what I believe. I am simply sharing my faith with him and telling him about what I believe in, and he has the opportunity to accept it. If he doesn't, that's okay. That's okay. But again, pushing and sharing are not the same thing. So, Sean, don't exactly know what you're talking about there. 24. In 2016, I was at KameyaCon and witnessed a producer at Funimation warn other Funimation employees of Vic's arrival and address Vic negatively with directors at Funimation. Ooh, this is getting spicy. Spicy. But anyway. Number 25. In approximately 2016 to 2017, a director employed at Funimation told me that Vic would never get a directing job at Funimation because he was such a douche. Wow. Just wow. This conversation happened at Funimation. I advised Vic of this conversation. Vic later told me he addressed this issue with Justin Cook, a member of Funimation management. 29. In my opinion, the voice actors and Funimation employees described above were overly preoccupied with disparaging Vic. Yeah, all you have to do to prove that is just look at their Twitter handles. That's literally all you have to do. Number 30. Over the last decade, I was around Vic, the defendants, and other Funimation employees hundreds of times. Until January of 2019, none of them directly accused him of sexual assault or sexual harassment in my presence. Again, kick Vic, wrecked. Wrecked. Because look at this. They're saying that these allegations date back a decade, maybe even more. Except here's the thing. We have a sworn affidavit here that says the exact opposite. That says that these allegations first cropped up in January of 2019. But anyway. 31. Until January 2019, negative discussions about Vic Mignogna in my presence were accompanied by laughter and derision, but never included concern for any alleged victims or named specific ones. Vic has always been a joke to a certain clique of influential Funimation employees for decades, but never a threat. Again, wrecked. Those statements of, "Oh, Vic is so powerful. I can't possibly touch Vic. Oh, he's so powerful. That's why I had to wait to speak the truth and to make my story heard." Except here's the thing. This literally says he was never a threat to anyone. Being a threat and being too powerful are pretty much the same exact thing. You're worried for your safety and you're worried about the ramifications. If he's not a threat, nothing to be worried about. If any of this actually did happen, which at this point, probably didn't. 32. Vic indicated to me that in 20 years of working at Funimation, he had never been warned of any complaints about his behavior. Didn't Monica Rial say something during her deposition about talking with Vic about it? I want to say so, but I don't really know. I'd have to watch the footage again. 33. Vic told me he had a meeting with the producer at Funimation in approximately 2018, specifically to discuss any issues with his behavior. He stated that there was no mention in this meeting of his having committed sexual harassment, sexual assault, or his having behaved in an inappropriate manner at Funimation or at any conventions. He stated that she told him he was difficult to work with because he sometimes asked directors to do additional takes when the director was satisfied with his initial take. So he's a perfectionist. So what? That's not really a big deal. That's not a big deal at all. So, maybe it's just me. Number 34. Senior Funimation directors have described the work environment at Funimation to me as a den of poison, Kafka nightmare, and, Orwellian slave factory. Wow. Just, jeez, my gosh, this is nuts. Anyway, number 35. My experience working at Funimation was unpleasant. It is well known that if one falls out of favor with certain people, including Chris Sabat, or if one tries to do anything to change the working conditions, that person will not be rehired as a voice actor. I felt threatened with not being used as a voice actor in subsequent projects if I complained about the work environment. 36. Funimation posted no employment policies regarding sexual harassment in the workplace or at conventions. Jeez. 37. Funimation did not provide an employee handbook to me, Vic, Jamie Markey, and Monica Rial. 38. In the 20 years I worked at Funimation, it was very common for employees, voice actors, writers, producers, directors to hug and kiss each other at the Funimation offices. Raunchy and sexual comedy was extremely common. Sexual relationships between Funimation employees and voice actors was common. No one was ever disciplined or terminated for this conduct. What changed? Again, what changed? What changed? What changed, Funimation? 39. When Sony acquired a majority interest in Funimation in late 2017, a no hugs policy was announced. Funimation employees and voice actors largely ignored this policy at first. 40. The voice actors, including Jamie Markey and Monica Rial, and other Funimation employees, talked and flirted freely at Funimation on a regular basis. Though this did become less common after Sony instituted the no hugs policy. 41. When the Dragon Ball Kai was being recorded in 2007, I almost said 2017, I heard rumors that actresses had been recast at Funimation for refusing sexual advantages by Funimation employees. I consider these rumors credible based on my experience working at Funimation and from direct messages received from a former DBZ cast member. 42. I also heard that actresses who participated in sex with Funimation/Okatron 5000 employees were cast in roles. I consider these rumors credible based on my experience working at Funimation. Whoops. 43. When the trailer for Dragon Ball Z Super Broly was released, Vic did not voice the character of Broly, even though Vic was the only English actor who had ever voiced Broly up to that point. By the way, this thing right here, I'm sorry to go on this little rant, but this is something that I actually tweeted about a little while back. So here's the thing: people are speculating who they're. Well, at the time of this recording, because it's the 2nd of December while I'm recording this, so the Dragon Ball Super Broly DLC has not dropped yet for fighters. I believe it drops on the 5th of December, or is it the 4th? I don't really remember. I'll have to watch the trailer again. But basically, fans have been wondering what they're going to do about the dub. Because here's the thing, because Vic has been terminated by Funimation, he can no longer legally portray Broly. At least not officially. Here's the conundrum, though. Because there have been 3 possibilities that fans have brought up over and over again. And I want to give my opinions on each of them. Number 1, they could reuse some of Vic's old lines, like from the movie or some of his old Broly clips. Number 2, they could just not dub it at all and just basically keep the character Japanese only. And number 3, they could get a different voice actor. Let me go through these one by one. So, for one thing, if they reuse Vic's old lines, like let's say they have some outtakes from him from Super Broly and they decide to put those in the DLC, in the dub for that. If they do that, number 1, they owe him royalties for that, because they're using his likeness without his permission or consent. And to any Kick Vic people in the audience, no, being terminated from a company does not prevent you from, does not prevent a former employee from suing. And again, And again, if they do reuse his own lines, they do open themselves up to the potentiality of another lawsuit. I'm just putting that out there right now. Because again, they're illegally using his likeness without his consent. Number two, if they don't dub the character and leave it a Japanese exclusive, here's what I think's gonna happen. If they leave Super Broly in the DLC as a Japanese only character, for one thing, fans are going to wonder why the heck it's not dubbed. Why Broly in the game is a Japanese exclusive, and why you can't play as him in the dub. In terms of speaking lines. And number three, if they get another voice actor, I'd hate to say it, but good luck finding someone that can imitate Vic's voice. And yes, I know that before any Kick Vic people comment below, I know that all Broly does in the movie for the most part is yell and scream. That's easy to replicate. But what isn't easy to replicate is the pitch of a voice. The enunciations of a voice. The quality of a voice. For an example of this, just look up Peter Kalamis versus Sean Schemmel comparison. You'll have plenty of watching material. So yeah, just saying. 44. During this time frame, again, he's talking about the duration between the first and second trailers for the movie. During this time frame, I sent a text message to Chris Sabat, who responded that if this has anything to do with Vic, I will not talk about it. Wow. Wow, man, really? 45. Chris Sabat is the owner of Okatron 5000 and is a voice actor at Funimation. 46. Chris Sabat did most of the casting and recording for the Dragon Ball Z properties, including for the movie Dragon Ball Z Super Broly. 47. Chris Sabat engaged in negotiations, either directly or through Funimation for various projects with Toei, owner of the Dragon Ball Z properties. 48. The voice actors employed by Funimation generally consider Chris Sabat to be a de facto manager at Funimation, and they believe his approval and support is vitally beneficial to succeeding at Funimation and the conventions and the converse regarding his disapproval. 49. Chris Saban has more influence at Funimation and other studios, including Rooster Teeth and Toei, than Vic has ever had in the anime industry. I refer you to my flimsy excuse by Kick Vic of, "Oh, Vic is just so powerful, I couldn't possibly share my story." Number 50. I heard Chris Sabat and Sean Schemmel call Vic a pedo numerous times before the allegations against Vic in January/February of 2019 arose. 51. I discovered Chris Sabat on multiple occasions talk in a derogatory manner about members of Funimation management and other people he calls friends. 52. I was aware of no rumors or accusations that Vic committed rape, sexual assault, or sexual harassment until the accusations arose in January to February of 2019 on the internet. 57. I was aware of no rumors or statements that identified any purported victims of sexual assault or sexual harassment by Vic until January through February of 2019 on the internet. Hey Ron, if you're watching this, what happened to all of those women that you said would come forward? To the hundreds of women that you were constantly saying would definitely come forward, and that you had them. You had those women that were willing to testify. What happened? What happened? 58. Jamie Markey and I have been close friends and writing partners since 2009. She never mentioned the hair-pulling incident at Funimation that she alleges occurred between Vic and her. Wrecked. 60. I believe Jamie Markey would have mentioned the hair pulling incident if it had bothered her, since she is typically very outspoken. In addition, while Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, and other Funimation employees often expressed animosity towards Vic, they never claimed he had sexually harassed or sexually assaulted anyone. Their animosity was primarily due to his personality, his sexual promiscuity, his Christian faith, and claims that he was difficult to work with. 61. In 2009, Jamie Markey and I worked with Chris Sabat on con.com.com. Man, that's an interesting, title. I'm very tempted right now to see if it's real. I'm very tempted right now to see if it's real. Okay, had a feeling. Had a feeling. Doesn't seem to exist anymore. It must have been taken down. Which was a website where voice actors could provide content for fans. Vic was a digital guest on that website and our primary marketing force because of his prolific convention schedule. In dozens of specific conversations about Vic, there was never any concern about pedo, that, or other criminal sexual behavior. Number 62. I have never seen Vic behave inappropriately with any fans of any age. 63. Although voice actors and other Funimation employees called Vic a pedo and accused him of liking underage girls for years, they never said these things to Vic and never expressed any concerns about working with Vic or doing panels at conventions with Vic until 2019. Nor did they express concern for the convention fans until 2019. Seriously, I mean, if you're concerned about these people's safety, why don't you actually act like you're concerned about these people's safety? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. 64. The sexual assault and sexual harassment allegations by the defendants and Funimation employees have seriously damaged Vic's career by inducing numerous conventions to cancel his appearances, by inducing producers and directors to not consider him or terminate him from projects. 65. Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, myself, and almost all other voice actors have kissed and hugged hundreds of fans at conventions, no matter their age. So, defendants, wrecked. Defendants, wrecked. 66. I approached Jamie Markey and Monica Rial to attempt a settlement between Vic and the defendants in early March of 2019. Vic was not aware of my efforts. 67. I was initially supportive of what Jamie and Monica were doing because my understanding was that they were, with inflated versions of their stories, attempting to help the alleged underage victims of rape and sexual assault by Vic, which they, along with Michelle Speck, directly told me existed, who would otherwise be too afraid to speak out. I never considered Jamie and Monica to be victims of attempted rape or sexual assault by Vic. 68. I drafted a proposed statement by Vic that included the phrase, "I am a sex addict," because my conversations with Jamie Markey and Monica Rial convinced me that Vic would have to admit some form of guilt for them to settle. Vic never saw or approved that phrase. 69. I am not educated about sex addiction, nor am I an expert about sex addiction. 70. I talked with Vic about sex addiction and advised him to speak with his counselor about it. I now believe his sexual activity and infidelities are more closely associated to the common narcissism and ego from men in his position. I believe Vic is sincere in his efforts with his counselor to correct the abject moral failings associated with his sexual behavior. 71. My settlement efforts were an attempt to help my friend Vic, who was suffering tremendously, to protect Jamie and Monica from the difficulty of a lawsuit and to heal the anime community, which has been seriously divided by the allegations against Vic. And another thing too, Monica has basically said that she wants to heal the community. Thing is, how do you heal the community when it's torn apart by your own hands and by your own actions? I'll tell you. You don't. And then another thing too, she said that she wanted to heal the community. Thing is, if she wanted to heal the community, for one, why? Oh, why has she blocked so many of them? Why has she blocked so many of them and basically been treating us like we're trash, like we're pieces of trash? I'm just saying. Sounds more like a flimsy attempt to hide than it is to actually heal something. Alright. 72. During my settlement efforts, Todd Habercorn told me that Chris Sabat, Ron Toye, and Sean Schemmel told him that he was in danger of never working at Funimation again because Habercorn retained the same law firm as Vic. I almost said lawsuit. Wow. 73. I also feared that my 20-year-long voice acting career at Funimation and personal reputation would be damaged by retaliation for my association with Vic. 74. I contacted Gen Fukunaga, the then CEO of Funimation, to discuss my concerns with Chris Sabat's gaslighting of Sean Schemmel, damaging use of his authority toward actors, and his attempt to destroy my career in early March of 2019, who met with me and advised that Vic would lose and have to pay via something he had learned about called an anti-slap motion. He also, in response to my specific concerns about Chris Sabat, said that he had been friends with Chris Sabat for 17 years and he did not believe me. This meeting occurred on March 5th, 2019 at 2:30 p.m. in Gen's office, approximately a month to a month and a half prior to Vic filing the current pending lawsuit. Alright, number 75. I and my wife fear direct, planned, and specific retaliation from Chris Sabat and those loyal to him in response to this affidavit that will be damaging to my reputation and career. Hey Sony, if any of you are watching this, I doubt you will, but if any watch this, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? The potential owner of a subsidiary is openly threatening people with retaliation. And he has a stranglehold on that subsidiary. (76) I have known Vic for many years, and I do not believe he has ever sexually approached anyone past the point of telling him no. 77. I believe Vic utilized his position of privilege in shameful ways in attempts to obtain sex. 78. In my experiences with Vic, if someone acted like they did not want to be hugged or kissed, he stopped immediately. 79. Funimation employees, including Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, and Michelle Specht, have advised me more than once since February of 2019 that criminal charges are coming against Vic. In response, I encourage them to help these alleged underage victims of rape and sexual assault to come forward. When asked to provide specifics to these allegations, they couldn't or refused to do so. Why? Why would you do that? If you know these people, and you know that they want to come forward with their stories, and they're actually credible, why on earth wouldn't you provide them? Why wouldn't you provide them? That's the equivalent of turning an essay in with just the introduction. And even then, it's only one sentence. That's it. Just, nope, you're done. Just, nope, you're done with that. There's a lot of dirty laundry that Funimation probably doesn't want to be showing. However, it's available to the public now, and Funimation honestly has no one but themselves to blame for this. Following a meeting on November 8th, in which nothing was really accomplished, Sharon Grigsby of Dallas Morning News actually published a rather neutral article, which surprised me considering how far in the defendant's camp she's planted herself. There was a meeting that was held on the 21st of November, during which the appeal would be heard and the ruling would be made on attorneys' fees and potential sanctions. In total, should the appeal fail, the attorneys' fees total roughly $500K. A far cry from the near $1 million amount that was originally demanded by Lemoyne. Speaking of Lemoyne, this isn't in the script, but I just thought I'd go off script for a moment. Speaking of Lemoyne, he is actually there was a document floating around that he's saying that he's apparently going after Rial and Toye because apparently they never paid him what they promised. So yeah, karma is a I don't personally believe in karma, but it just goes to show you what goes around comes around. I mean, you don't pay your attorney for what he's doing, the attorney is going to come after you for possibly even more than what was originally agreed upon. At this point, the attorney's fees are contingent, meaning dependent on the failure of the appeal. Meaning that should the appeal go through, and if Vic wins on appeal, there's a chance that Vic won't have to pay them a penny, since at that point the TCPA will basically be done and over with, rendering these fees moot. At this time, we're still waiting for the appeal to go through, and according to some prominent members of the I Stand With Vic community on Twitter, that waiting period could be a little while. In fact, I believe Nick Rekieta stated that the appeal is at least 6 months out, so we've got a long wait ahead of us. As far as my thoughts on the appeal goes, I'm pretty confident that it'll go through once the appellate court actually examines the record, which obviously includes the sworn affidavits, the deposition transcripts, and the like. Who knows, they might even review the footage to get context for what's going on. Regardless, I'll keep you guys up to date as best I can. For those updates, you'll want to follow me on Twitter. The handle will also be in the description. One final thing. Sometime early in December, I believe it was the 2nd, it was announced that Johnny Young Bosch, the English voice actor of Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach, would be taking up the mantle of Broly in place of Vic. I'm mixed on this one. While I love the fact that Ichigo is Broly and appreciate even more that Johnny and Vic Mignogna are really good friends behind the scenes, I feel like the decision was made by Funimation out of overprotectiveness rather than authenticity. No offense to Mr. Bosch, I'm just giving my thoughts on this, and I'm pretty sure that he'll get better as he grows into the role, like he did when he started playing Ichigo in Bleach. Mr. Bosch first appeared as Broly in the DLC trailer for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I have to say, he surprised me. He's actually a really good fit for this version of Broly, in terms of the screams. Would I have preferred Vic? Well, obviously yeah, I mean the guy's been playing the character for 15 years now. Not to mention he also played the character in the movie that this character's based on. But I should be grateful that it wasn't the sleazy Kick Vic actor, like Damon Mills or Ian Sinclair, and I'm glad that Johnny is in Vic's corner. That being said, I am worried for him as well, since I'm sad to say, Johnny's actually been attacked on Twitter already by these social justice warrior monsters, literal days after the announcement of him replacing Vic. These people won't stop, they're coming for everyone. But, like Ichigo, Johnny unleashed his Bankai and shut them right up. So at least he's able to defend himself. Not everyone can do that. Anyway, let's check out this article. It's going to be linked below, as well with all the other sources I mentioned here. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out this article here. This is actually a last-minute addition to my script. I was actually in the process of editing this video until I came across this in my Twitter feed. during a little break, so I decided to add it to the script. So anyway, let's go ahead and just go through this. This is from Bounding into Comics. So, days after being announced as Dragon Ball's new Broly voice actor, Johnny Young Bosch shuts down accusations of sexual misconduct. Now again, if none of you, I'm pretty sure everyone knows who Johnny Young Bosch is. He was the he was in Power Rangers. He was in Bleach as Ichigo. He's played in countless. Oh my gosh, he's been everywhere. He's been everywhere, just like Jason David Frank and like Vic himself, actually. So yeah, he's a really prolific voice actor in the industry and just a great actor in general. But the SJWs are coming after him. So let's see what this says. After being revealed as the new voice for Broly in Dragon Ball FighterZ, following former voice actor Vic Mignogna being let go from the role, Johnny Young Bosch was accused on Twitter of sexually inappropriate conduct with women he had formerly worked with, but Bosch was quick to strongly refute this accusation. On December 3rd, as Bosch's role as Broly sparked numerous reactions, discussions, and opinions across social media, a small account by the handle of Mr. Doorknob, which by the way no longer exists, that's what's hilarious about this whole thing. But anyway, by the handle of Mr. Doorknob interjected, in a pair of since deleted tweets, that they had, quote, heard some sketchy things about JYB himself. They specifically stated that Bosch would make a female host of Anime TV, an anime television talk show previously produced by Bang Zoom Entertainment and hosted by Bosch, quote, wear short skirts / revealing outfits to bring in views even though she didn't want to. And the person was also kind enough to put some screenshots up, so... Mr. Doorknob, yikes, heard some sketchy things about JYB himself. Not sure how I feel about this. I guess I set off some fans with this tweet, so I figured I'd clarify. One of the female hosts who worked with him... hang on, let me turn the volume down before this thing starts. Sorry, I was afraid that was gonna go off. Anyway. One of the female hosts who worked with him on the old Anime TV podcast / web show he hosted complained how he would make her wear short skirts / revealing outfits to bring in views even though she didn't want to. Okay, for one thing, where's your proof of this? If you're gonna make it's the same exact, just because... Oh my gosh, I don't even want to get into that. Anyway. However, Bosch took to his personal Twitter account to denounce the accusation, urging his accusers to contact Bang Zoom or, quote, any female that was on the show for further proof. Oh, and look at that. Here's Mr. Bosch's Twitter right now. Total BS. I was cast as a host and nothing to do with wardrobe for others. Just ask those in charge of the show over at Bang Zoom. This is a complete lie and the dumbest thing I've ever heard. In fact, we could ask any female that was on the show, but I imagine whoever you're talking about doesn't exist. So what other story do you have? Ooh, I got one, but it's about... Oh, that's a low blow. I don't know if I want to read that. Oh my gosh. I'll just skip to the rumor part. So, could be a rumor. The only one I'm harassing is you, but I'm calling you out. Go to IMDb and look up every female from Anime TV. Tell me who would have said this. Go ahead, Doorknob. Let's hear it. You can't, can you? All I can say is... wrecked. All I can say is wrecked. Oh my gosh. After Bosch fired back against the accusation, the Mr. Doorknob account was deleted. Wonder why. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. After this deletion, Bosch attempted to quell the discourse, stating that this accusation was just, quote, one random flyby and not the coordinated efforts of, quote, many. And here's a screenshot proving that he said that to end this article with. It might not be the majority, but a few #IStandWithVic members were mad he was the new voice of Broly. Many of #KickVic was accusing Johnny Young Bosch improper behavior, which is why I accused him of putting him into this as well. Everyone just needs to chill. I don't really know about that. Johnny, bro, what are you doing? Lol. That's how rumors spread. Not many, just one random flyby. Yeah, you have no idea how right you are, Mr. Bosch. You have no idea. So this bit actually was recorded right after the video was done. The video was done editing, but over the course of, like just before I hit the render button, actually, I know, coincidence, I got a DM from a follower of mine on Twitter. And this DM, you're seeing what the DM was on screen right now, contained an image. And this image essentially says that the appellate court of Texas examined the defendant's motion to dismiss the case, and they flat out denied the motion, and it looks like, again, this is from a non-legal expert here, but it looks as if the appeal is going through. It looks as if the appeal is going through. What happens next, I don't know. I'll have to wait for Nick to kind of fill me in on this, on one of his streams in the future, but at this point, it looks as though the appeal is going through, and to be honest, what I'm more interested in is hearing Law Twitter and KickVic's flimsy excuses and their pathetic attempts at backpedaling, because remember, if you've been keeping up with the situation on Twitter, they said that the appeal was going to be dropped because Ty was late with it. Ty Beard was late with the document, apparently, and, well, this image says the contrary. It says the exact opposite. Instead, the appeal is actually going through, and I'm curious to see what their excuses are gonna be. You know, like, they're probably gonna say something like, oh, we knew this the entire time, that the appeal would go through, we were never wrong, and stuff like that. Well, think about it like this, okay? You said, like, a month ago, or something, that the appeal was going to be dropped. That the appeal was going to be dropped, and that the case was done. And that Vic owed them millions of dollars. And yet, you've been wrong on every single step of the process thus far. To be honest, I'm no lawyer, but to be honest, this is extremely entertaining. It's been extremely entertaining just to see these, law Twitter clowns, just trying to, you know, come up with these flimsy excuses and make these straw man arguments and stuff like that. It's really, but on a more solemn note, it's better to, reward their negativity with positivity. To counter their negativity with your own positivity. About Vic, or pointing out the flaws in their arguments, or doing something like that. They cannot stand that. They can't stand that. And, to be honest, I feel like this document about the appeal going through has just hit them right in the core of their beings, because remember, like I said before, I didn't mean for this part to go on for so long, but I'll try to edit it down as best I can. But remember, after the 21st of November, they were saying that the appeal was done, that it wasn't going to go through, and that the case was basically dead in the water. And just like pretty much from the very beginning, the appellate court had something different to say, and as you can see on screen, it's going through. So, what happens going forward? What happens going forward with this appeal? To be honest, I don't know. I didn't really expect them to respond as quickly as they did, because like Nick said, and I even looked up the appeals process, basically, the appeal, according to Nick, was basically 6 months out, and according to my own research on the subject, depending on the state, it could have taken an extremely long time to even get the appeal off the ground. So, I'm really shocked by this. I'm really glad that this is happening though. Because the appellate court is basically going to examine the entirety of the record in the case. And who knows, they might even watch the deposition footage, or at the very least look at the transcript to see what's actually going on, rather than it being the, the lazy hack job it was, when the case was going on, when the case was actually, seen by Judge Chupp. Again, no offense to Chupp, it's just, I feel like he made some mistakes, with his rulings and stuff like that. So, yeah, point of the segment is the appeal is going through, and, send Vic your prayers now more than ever. He needs them now more than ever. And just like he's been there for us, for all of these years, and he's inspired us, it's time for us as a community to finally give back, and we should keep giving back. And stuff like that, because a lot of Law Twitter and KickVic in general want to silence the I Stand With Vic community, because they're basically saying that what we're doing is futile, and stuff like that. And I've got to end here, I've got a message for them if any of them happen to be watching this. You're saying that what we're doing is futile and that it doesn't matter. So you're basically saying that a fan base coming to the defense of a wrongly accused man is idiotic. You're saying that that's idiotic. Well, here's the thing. What have you been doing with Moronica and Jamie Malarkey and Funimation? What have you been doing? Alright, guys, but yeah, I just wanted to add this little, addendum here to kind of inform you, of what was going on. But let me know your thoughts on this appeal in the comments as well, even though this point obviously isn't in my script, because this is unscripted, because it was last minute. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and yeah, spread this video around, share it with your favorite creators, with the other creators that are covering this situation, because I know that, I know some of them were really looking forward to it, and it would really mean the world to me if you guys would, just share it with them, tag them in a post on Twitter or something like that, and include this video link or whatever. And yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I'm Mark, and until next time, bye-bye, and God bless. See ya. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this. The fact that you clicked on this video means the world to me, but it would make it even better if you could leave a comment below on what your thoughts are on anything I mentioned here. What do you think of the depositions? What about the disturbing revelations revealed by Chuck Huber about Funimation? Are the fees proposed by the court to your satisfaction? What are your thoughts on Johnny's Broly? And finally, what are your thoughts on Vic's future going forward? Let me know down in the comments. Until next time, I'm Mark, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless. Oh, and Vic, if you're watching, we love you, we appreciate you, and as the hashtag goes, we will always stand with you.